Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Shaun Holko, alongside my guy, Kevin Dent. Joining us on today's episode will be our guy, Mr. Jaevon, who will be joining us very soon, as well as our recurring guest, none other than Kevin's sister, Miss Alex Dent. She will also be joining us on today's show as we get into the NBA on this Friday night. Kevin, how are you doing on this Friday night? I know that you've been dealing with some puppy troubles as Blue he fights through, but how are you doing overall?
I'm doing well, man. Last couple nights have been kind of hard, beating Kings fan and continuously losing to the 1 point Warriors, just to continuously lose to them by 1 point. It's ripping at my soul. For Keegan Murray to go 0 of 10 from three, we just needed one of them. Just one of them, not all 10. We just needed one to go in, and it's a different result. But I'm feeling good about the Kings, man. We're looking good. Shaun and I were talking before the show about this in-game tournament or in-season tournament. We're really excited to dive into and give you guys this content you've been looking for. How you doing today, Shaun?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. And yeah, the NBA is just giving us so much content that we had to add an extra day to the week. And the biggest news of this past week, Kevin, is the fact that James Harden, he finally got his wish, as James Harden was traded to the Los Angeles Clippers from the Philadelphia 76ers. And it was a big deal as Marcus Morris, Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, and multiple draft picks and a pick swap were traded for James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrusev, who we will learn a little bit more about coming up. But that was the official trade between the Clippers and the 76ers. And so, first of all, Kevin, I just wanted to ask, because this is the team that James Harden wanted to go to. So this wasn't a big surprise, but more so what I wanted to ask first and foremost is, was this enough for the Clippers to give up, or was it too much?
Every time we heard the Clippers to James Harden, we always heard that Trey Mann was the person holding this trade up. So to see that Terrence Mann, for them to not have to give up Terrence Mann in this trade, I think that would have been like the tip of skill. He's a young player. The Clippers have already learned their mistake trading away young players. So this was their one player they kind of had to hold on to for future knowledge, because Kawhi's going into his last year's contract, same with Paul George. James Harden's going to be a free agent next year. You need someone to commit to long term. You got a new stadium coming up, so this could be your guy. This could be your future. But addressing the trade, this is fucking insane. This is James Harden's fourth team since 2021. He went from the Rockets to the Nets to the 76ers to the now Clippers. So what else does James Harden need? It's very interesting to see that, he's coming back home. This is where he quote unquote wanted to be all along, but he said the same thing about Philadelphia when he went there. So James Harden always has something new to say. I'm really interested to see how this team kind of plays out, because if all healthy, the Clippers team, ever since they got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, you can't address the Clippers without quotation marks saying if healthy. So now you add another guy who kind of goes up and down with the injury, the fat suit, attitude off the court, A, B, C, and D with James Harden. So you're now adding him to the mix with Russell Westbrook. We saw what they were able to do in Houston. It didn't last long because James Harden was still in his mindset if he wants to do it all his way or the highway. So now that we have a guy like Ty Lue to lead this team, I think that he is the best leader for this team. Paul George and Kawhi have been playing really well this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how James Harden comes in and kind of plays alongside PJ Tucker.
It will be interesting for sure. And the thing that I thought about first and foremost when he was first saying that he wanted to go to the Clippers was I automatically thought, okay, he's trying to team back up with Russell Westbrook and he's trying to get that back together. And you look at James Harden since he left the Houston Rockets, he gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and that seemed like it was going to work. And it probably would have worked if Kyrie didn't get hurt, if James Harden didn't have a hamstring injury in that 2021 playoff run, and they ultimately lose to the Bucks. The Bucks go on to win the NBA championship, but it seemed like that was going to work in Brooklyn. Everything going on with Kyrie, it all just kind of fell apart. James Harden then says, I want to play with Joel Embiid. I want to play with the future MVP in Philadelphia. But what kind of fell apart there, is Daryl Morey seeming to give him his word and say, hey, if you take less money this year and you opt in, then we're going to give you big money next year. And it seems that Daryl Morey lied to him. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well, Kevin. What do you think about just the relationship kind of falling apart between Morey and James Harden? Because that relationship seemed to be the connecting point that made James Harden want to go there, besides obviously playing with Joel Embiid.
It's interesting, man, because I mean, I put myself in this situation, and if you're gonna tell me, my whole life, you're essentially the reason I've made all my money. OKC was on a rookie deal. The first time James Harden got a significant amount of cash was through Daryl Morey. So they built this relationship through years on, through years out. James Harden looked at him as a confidant, someone he can look at and trust to. And now, the timing was just horrible. If you guys are gonna have a fallout, you shouldn't do it at a kids camp. It's all about the kids. You're in China, so in the States it's 3 a.m. So you're saying this, and no one's gonna be able to really acknowledge it for another 4 or 5 hours. So James Harden I don't like the way it played out. I don't like the way any of his ways have played out of him being traded. Essentially, we've seen other routes. We've seen the Ben Simmons route where he wasn't really vocal, but he made it clear that he wasn't gonna step on the floor. James Harden made it clear, like, I'm not playing for Daryl Morey. No way, no how. But then the day of the road trip, he wants to show up with his go-yard bags full of stuff. So you want to play, but you don't want to play. You want your money, but you don't want your money here. You want to go to LA. Now that you're in LA, we can't see this continuing cycle. I do not want to hear at the end of the season we doing a factor cap if James Harden's going to get re-signed by the Clippers or where he's going to go next. I'm tired of this. I would love to see him kind of just settle down and retire somewhere and put down a legacy. His legacy right now was the OKC run and then Houston. After that, it kind of just went down, who's arguably one of the best scorers in the NBA history, MVP, 6th man of the year, all-pro, scoring leader, A, B, C, and D. But when you see his moves, his transactions, it just makes you think, like, damn, is James Harden the system, or can he play a part of the system? And he said in his interview, his press conference, like, I'm not a system player, I am the system. So it's not starting off too hot off the court in LA, but we'll see how things play out. I'm happy to see Russell Westbrook welcome him as well.
Now joining us on episode number 60 of Stats Over Politics is none other than Mr. Jaevon Toddy. How are we doing tonight, Toddy?
How them Kings fans feeling, baby? How y'all feeling? Y'all feeling good? Not good.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
See,
Why?
I knew Ty was going to come in here on this energy. I was hoping they weren't undefeated by the time the pod started. I was like, you know what? If they're 4-1, I'm smiling. We have something to say, but Toddy's coming in here. As everybody knows, he is a Celtics fan that was born and raised in Sacramento, California. So I don't know how that worked out for him, but, he's a Celtics fan, and he loves to shit on us because he's had a rough couple of weeks with football. So now Toddy's back in the ring, and as you guys can see, he's throwing a couple jabs, so he's ready to go.
I had to throw a couple jabs at y'all, It's not even y'all fault, though. I'm not even going. It's really not even your fault.
It's the Golden State refs.
Definitely had Golden State on the money line. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say, hey, De'Aaron Fox is out. Y'all gonna beat the Warriors. But that's not. We're not even talking.
Almost
about
the did.
We're not even talking about the Kings right now. But I will. And from me picking the Warriors in that game, the Kings got screwed so many different times in that game. Like, there were so many times where I was like, oh, that's a foul. Oh, they didn't call that? That's crazy. Yeah, so we'll definitely get into the Kings a little later. But no, I'm just, happy to be here. Good to have Shaun here on a Basketball Friday.
Yeah, my boss is
that
covering
a Star Wars short?
Oh no, this is a wrestling shirt. You should know better by now. Yeah, it's a wrestling shirt. Yep, I got you. But yeah, I'm here on a Friday night because my boss was able to cover the one football playoff game that was in Woodland tonight, so gave me the night off, and I'm happy to be here. Also now joining us is none other than recurring cast member, Miss Alex Dent.
Celtic fan.
Oh no! Oh, yeah. We got another Celtics fan on here. Are you gonna bring the hate too? Like Toddy just came guns blazing.
No, I'm not going to.
I appreciate it. Well, welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you.
So we were just getting into the James Harden. Aside from Toddy's hate, yeah, we were talking about the Warriors beating the Kings twice through the first couple games or through first 4 or 5 games. But we were talking about the James Harden trade and him being traded to the Clippers out of your guys' conference being the Eastern Conference. And so, Alex, what did you think about the James Harden trade to the Clippers? Do you think it was a good package that the 76ers got for him?
I don't know because I know they got a few first and second round picks. I just don't know the year. And if I'm the front office of the 76ers, I'm working on Joel Embiid's timeline, right? He's like 29, 30, right? So he only has a few like good years left, right? So I'm like, I need something now. Like I'm not really trying to rebuild. Like I'm trying to get some good pieces now, fit around him, and then he'll take us the whole way, right? And I think one of the picks, or maybe it was a pick swap, was like 2028, right? And I think that's a little bit
the
too
unprotected
far.
first round pick. Yeah.
Yep.
Unprotected. Okay. So like that's just a little too far for me, right? So I don't know if Philly got the best deal out of them, right? But I think they got James Harden off their chest, right? They just kind of wanted that negativity, right, out of that locker room, things like that, and just kind of go forward with the team that they got, right? As far as the Clippers, though, I'm not too sure how all of those big names are going to fit together. But we'll see. I got to see them really into it before I really give my full opinion on it because I'm kind of iffy. It could go both ways for me. They're definitely the wild card in the West, I would say.
Yeah, that seems to be the case with any team that James Harden is on, is it could go either way. And so, Toddy, if you are able now to put your hate aside, take the hate out of your heart, player hater of the year, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on the James Harden trade to the Clippers.
I mean, it was inevitable, right? We all kind of knew where he was going. If anybody would have asked, it would have been like, hey, is James Harden, where will James Harden end up by the end of the year? We would all probably said the LA Clippers. As far as the trade package goes, I mean, a couple of picks. I feel like the picks were what everybody was waiting on, whether that's the couple of firsts, the unprotecteds. That's pretty much what it came down and boiled down to. So not surprised that I guess I'm surprised that it happened this early because it was, 3-4 games in. Like, all right, it's time to get to it. And we saw that PJ already played, pretty much the night after he got traded. So Harden's, I guess, ramping up for Monday. So I'm pretty sure everyone's going to figure out a way to watch that Clipper game on Monday night to see what it's going to look like for James Harden, Russ, PG, how they're all going to fit. And Russ even said after at the end of the Laker game, they were like, "Hey, what do you think about the trade?" He's like, "I really can't tell the future. I don't know what it's going to look like." Oh my God, Steph just hit a game winner.
That's great. Good for them. But I'm just gonna try not to be bitter. Good for them.
But I mean, as far as the trade goes, I mean, it is what it is. But I feel like this team would have been really fire like 4 or 5 years ago. Now I'm not so sure because Paul George, Kawhi, we don't really know. That dynamic is always a team that can definitely win games, but will they be able to stay healthy through the course of a regular season? We haven't really seen that. And the bubble was pretty much the last time we kind of saw them healthy together in the playoffs. And people were like, oh, it's the bubble. It's not a real thing. Blah, blah, blah. That's neither here nor there. So, yeah, I'd love to see, Russ, how the whole Russ Harden dynamic. I feel like that's going to be the key dynamic because Russ has been playing great these past couple of games. If you guys have been watching him play, he's been distributing the ball. He's been scoring. Whenever he's been attacking the basket, we've been shooting from three pretty decently. I know Russ doesn't really shoot the three ball that well, but he's been shooting pretty well. But I think they have to start all of them pretty much just to figure out how their rotation is going to look like. I feel like to start the season, you'll probably see Russ, Harden, PG, and Kawhi on the floor at the same time for the first couple of games, and then they'll probably start to figure out, when they stagger all their minutes, like who does well with the second unit, this, that, and the third, and they'll kind of just go from there. But, the West gets better. You're adding who is an all-star caliber player in James Harden. Led the league in assists last year. So, the West it's just going to keep getting tougher and tougher. And I'm very excited to see what this Clipper team looks like, with James Harden added to this team. No fat suit.
Well, Jaevon, you keep saying that the West keeps getting better. I keep thinking of it closer to home that the Pacific Division keeps getting better and better. And the Pacific Division is arguably the best division in basketball. And you look at last season, all 5 teams in the Pacific Division made the playoffs. But the Kings won the Pacific Division. They didn't get past the first round, but they did win the hardest division in basketball, at least in my opinion.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what? Yeah, they're gonna win.
Hell
again,
yeah,
Jaevon.
Shaun. Let them know.
Yeah, because
clip this.
Well, the thing is, hold on, give me another 30 seconds for this clip, because the reason why I'm confident in saying it, and it's not just Homer bullshit behind it, is because a team like the Kings, the regular season matters. Clippers, Lakers, Suns, Warriors, all 4 of those teams, none of them really care about the regular season like the Kings do.
Load management machine is what you're saying.
Exactly. So give me another, or what they did is they consolidated the 2 Pacific Division banners that they had from like 2002, 2003, and they put it all together with 2023 all on one banner that they're hanging now in the Golden One Center. But anyways, Kevin, since we were just speaking about James Harden being traded to the Clippers, there is a great question related to that in today's Factor Cap segment. So if you could get us started with that.
Definitely. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. We usually do Factor Cap towards the end of the show, but tonight we're going to start it off with the show. So Factor Cap. Alex, I'm going to bring it to you first. Factor Cap. The Clippers will finish as a top 3 seed in the NBA.
Cap.
In the Western Conference.
Cap. Easy. Cap. I think they need time to adjust themselves. I think those are 4 huge names all trying to play on the same team. I don't think it's going to be very quick. But also the West is too stacked. I think you have the Suns, the Nuggets, and then I would give the 3rd seed probably same team as last year, the
Go ahead and
Kings.
say it.
Maybe the Lakers get that 3rd seed. I don't know, right? But I don't think they'll be top 3. That's cap. I think they'll be top 4 or 5. I'll give them that, but not top 3.
All right, Shaun, I will bring it to you next. Factor Cap. The Clippers will be a top 3 team in the Western Conference.
I'm going to say this is cap mainly because of what I just was saying in regard to the Kings winning the Pacific Division again, is that the Clippers are one of the most load management teams in the NBA. And
Kawhi said he don't want to load manage no more. That's crazy.
Kawhi said he playing all 82.
That's what he said.
I will believe it when I see it. If we get to the end of the season and we get to April and Kawhi, Paul George, like, I got a wood desk right here, so I'll knock on wood real quick. I'm not wishing on any injuries on any of these players, but if all of those stars can all make it throughout the season, number 1, without getting hurt in the first place, but then number 2, not load managing consistently. Like, if you miss one game here and there, that's not a big deal. But if you're missing a couple in a row and you're just, oh, yeah, I got a sore hip, then to me, that's load management. So I'm going to say that this is cap, just because I don't think the Clippers care about the regular season.
All right, Ty, I'm going to bring it to you next. All right, you got to go with another cap. Factor Cap. The Clippers will be a top 3 team in the Western Conference.
I'm also going to say cap for this one. I'm going to stick to my guns here and, roll with what I said in the preseason preview that we had a couple weeks ago. Go check that out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, all of that good stuff. But as far as the Factor Cap question goes, I'm going to say cap because I do think just the West, as Alex already alluded to, is just, is so tough. And we all understand that Kawhi, Paul George are like one of the top wings in this league, period. But we just haven't seen them healthy. I think health is the reason why everyone is not going to confide in this top 3 in the West type team. They have top 3 potential. Yes, I think we all can agree on that. The potential is there for them. They could be one of the best teams in the league, but they have to play, spans of games together be on the court. It can't just be, Paul George is out, Kawhi's out, Russ is out, and, they're missing somebody. Somebody is always hurt on this team. And I feel like we all believe it's a what have you done for me lately league. Kevin always says that. And lately, last time we saw Paul George, he was in street clothes in the playoffs. And the last time we saw Kawhi, he was also, he had almost 40-point game in the playoffs, but then the next game, out, knee injury. When's he coming back? I don't know. Well, what about the next game? He ain't coming back. So we we all have seen Kawhi and Paul George hurt so many times. I feel like we're so scarred by that, and we kind of just go off. They're not going to be healthy. So definitely we'll see. They'll still make the playoffs like they usually do. They'll figure out a way to get into the playoffs, but I don't think they are a top 3 team in the West.
Well, Gary, I hope you're listening out there because I know this is usually your role to play devil's advocate, but I guess it got to be me. Fact or cap, the Clippers will be a top 3 team in the West. I'm going to say fact because everyone's mentioned injuries. What we've seen this season, I'm seeing OKC Paul George vibes. Finished top 2 in MVP, 28 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds. Paul George is playing. We've all talked about all offseason how this was going to be Kawhi's team and PG has to play on his back. It ain't the case through 4 games. Kawhi is playing second fiddle to Paul George, and then Russell Westbrook is playing out of his mind. So we're adding, like Toddy said, a person who led the NBA in assists, arguably could have been an all-star, to this lineup. They got to keep Terrence Mann. They got Zubac. This team has depth out the wazoo. So the team after the trade is James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, PJ Tucker, Ivan Zubac, Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Mason Plumlee, and Bones Highland. They have a deep team, but like Toddy said, this is always on paper. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the monologue, you don't address the Clippers without putting the parentheses and saying if healthy. If this team can stay healthy, they can be a top 3 team in the West. I'm not seeing 1 or 2, but like Alex said, that third spot in the West is up for grabs, and I definitely think that the Clippers can go and grab that third spot and be a top 3 team in the Western Conference. So I'm gonna have to say fact. What's going through your head, Alex? Let me hear it.
But you're taking this season that's been such a small sample size compared to a larger sample size of them load managing their players and then them being injured. So yes, they're playing great. It's like I think it was Utah Jazz last year. They were number 1 in the West for the first month. They did great that first month, and then they never made even the play-in. So I don't judge teams on that first month because they're trying to get conditioned, things like that. So we only had 6-7 games so far, and yeah, they've been playing great. Paul George is playing like he's on the Indiana Pacers again, like he's PG 24, not PG 13, right? And so I get that, but it's only 7 games, and that's why I like this in-season tournament. I know we're going to talk about that a little later because it keeps that momentum still going throughout the season. Because usually teams dip, teams rise throughout November, December, and then All-Star break comes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I understand all that, but a lot of this team has Tyronn Lue. He's had a big 3. He's had the drama. He's come into a position. They fired David Blatch, and then the next year when Ty Lue gets in town, they win a championship. He is a guy that's going to get this locker room to commit. We saw guys like him getting Bones Highland getting going, Norman Powell. We've seen Terrence Mann become a whole new player under Ty Lue. Ty Lue is going to get the best out of James Harden because Ty Lue understands that if this is just going to be a rental, I'm going to make sure that every day that my rims are shiny and this car is looking good, even if it's going to be a rental. So I think Tyronn Lue is a understated factor in this equation because he knows how to lead men, and that's what all coaches say. We've heard with the Raiders. I know this is football, it's not a basketball show, but Devontae Adams said, you just need if you're going to be a coach at the professional level, you need to be a leader of men, and these men need to be able to run through a wall for you. And there's no better example than Tyronn Lue. Down 3-1, he told his team, put money in the ceiling. We coming back after we win Game 7 for our money. He makes you believe, and I am a Ty Lue fan ever since he brought Braun a championship. I think Ty Lue has been there every season because they always get hurt. He goes into games not even knowing if they're going to play or not. So if they can just get into the playoffs healthy, no matter the seed, I think they're going to be able to make some noise in the playoffs.
A lot of ifs in there, Kevin. A lot of ifs.
A lot of ifs. But I think there's going to be more ifs in this next factor cap. So, Toddy, I'm going to bring it to you next. I had everybody bring a list of their top bigs in the Western Conference that can make the All-Star game. So, Toddy, factor cap, Victor Wembanyama will be an All-Star this season.
Oh, man. I want to give a special shout-out to Victor Wembanyama for ruining my parlay last night because he had 40 in the game that Devin Booker comes back. They were up by 20 literally the entire game. I don't know. I watched the entire game. Not by choice, but if you kind of just watch the entire game, they just really didn't have an answer for him. Victor pretty much did anything that he wanted. He had a play where the dude had his back to the basket and he threw it towards the rim and he dunked it. And I was like, the hell are you supposed to? You can't stop that. And you see like the pictures of KD next to Wemby, and Wemby's like so much taller than him. It's insane. But I'm looking at, as far as bigs go, the two best bigs that I've seen in the West are AD and Jokic. And then it's kind of just like everybody else. So I'm like, how many all-star spots reserved? I mean,
there's 12 spots, I believe.
There's 12.
Yeah, I say it's 8 on the.
Is Wemby going to be an all-star right now, today? Wow. There's 12 roster spots or 12?
There's 12 roster spots. I'm assuming there's 2 of, no, that wouldn't. There's 3 of something, but I mean, there's only that one wild card spot.
And I think that the difference now is it's positionless with the voting.
Is he one of the 12 best players in the West right now? No, I can't say that. So I'm gonna have to say Cap. I get it. Wemby had 40 last night against Kevin Durant, which is, one of his idols, guys he grew up watching. I mean, it's tough to say no after that performance, but I'm like, but I'm looking at it as, is he one of the 12 best players in the West? And I'm going to have to say Cap on that. I'm a guy who's came out on this podcast. I've said it several times. February, when the ball dropped to San Antonio Spurs, in which Shaun said he would have took, the odds were at plus 550, and Shaun was like, well, I think that Greg Popovich and the Spurs are going to get him. And I'm like, Shaun, you're crazy. There's no way in hell Wemby's going to the Spurs. And then that day comes, the ball drops. Literally, I don't know if it was that day or that weekend. Could have won some money, a lot of money on that. Pop signs.
Coulda, woulda.
Pop signs for 5 years. I don't think that's a coincidence that they got the lottery, Pop's contracts up, and then, oh, hey, we got the number 1 pick. We're going to get who? Yeah, let me re-sign 5 years on the dotted line. So I've always said that I think the Spurs are going to make the play-in for sure. I stand on that. I've been standing on that since February. You guys can quote me. Go back all the way to when the lottery show was and listen to whatever I said. But I think this team can definitely make the play-in just because on how gifted I believe and saw and thought how good he was going to be, and it's been showing. But I'm going to say Cap for this segment just because I don't think he's one of the 12 best players in the West right now. He's not one of the 24 best players in the league right now. I feel like maybe in a year, I could be wrong. You guys can pull this clip up for me 3-4 months from now and be like, this is the guy that said Wemby's not going to be an all-star. And I'm going to be like, hey, I was wrong. But right now, this is what, game 4 or 5 games in. Gotta say Cap for right now.
All right, Alex, I'm going to bring it to you next. Factor Cap. Victor Wembanyama will be an all-star this season.
I think, like Toddy said, he's not the top 12 in the league. But correct me if I'm wrong, was Zion Williamson an all-star his rookie year as well?
No, I think he was hurt his rookie year, but his actual first year, like playing a lot of games. His actual
first year. Yeah. So my thing is,
and I think in that year, Zion played like 20-something games. It's still been the all-star game. And
he was also a starter. But continue.
And so my biggest thing is, I don't think he's going to, but I think the NBA is a business at the end of the day, and people want to see Victor in an all-star jersey. So it's going to happen. People, because I think isn't it based on voting? People are going to vote him in.
Well, I think the starters is voting. I think the bench is yet to be picked. I think starters are voted on.
Yes, that's okay. How it is.
That's correct.
Okay. I just think that they're going to put him in one of those slots. Now, is he top 12? No, but
Oh, he
especially in the
reserve.
West. But he's definitely going. I think he's going to be in an All-Star jersey. So I say fact.
Wow.
All right, Shaun. We have a fact and we have a cap. I'm gonna bring it to you next. Fact or cap? Victor Wembanyama will be an All-Star this season.
I love it when factor cap gets split like this. This is great. So that is correct, Alex, that Zion made the All-Star game in his second season. LeBron also made the All-Star game in his second season. But I'm here to tell you all that Victor Wembanyama is going to make the All-Star game as a rookie. He dropped 38 points last night against the Suns in his fifth game overall, but it was his second time beating the Suns so far this season.
Back-to-back games, he beat the Suns.
Back-to-back games. And so, according to ESPN Stats and Info, Victor Wembanyama is the first player with 100 points and 10 blocks in their first 5 career games since Shaquille O'Neal back in 1992. His 38 points are tied for the third most in a game by a Spurs rookie all time. Only David Robinson had reached that mark previously. This guy is special. Like, he's fucking ridiculous. I don't really know much else to say, because the reason why I'm almost lost for words is because we saw him doing this overseas and we all kind of marveled at it at the time. Now he has just seamlessly made the transition to the NBA, and he's going toe-to-toe with Kevin Durant. Before he played Kevin Durant for the first time, the media was asking Kevin, saying, "You're Victor's favorite player. How does it make you feel?" Kevin just said, "I feel old. That's how it makes me feel." But the fact that Victor can walk in on day one and go head-to-head with one of the best players in the NBA of all time, perhaps, Game 5, and drop 38 points and to beat Kevin Durant twice. Like, the first game, it was kind of wild how the Spurs won it at the end. And Toddy, I don't know if you bet on that one, because it would be painful if you did.
Oh,
the first time that the Spurs beat the Suns, when the Suns basically just gave it away at the end. But anyways, to answer the question, this is a fact. Victor Wembanyama will be an All-Star as a rookie.
I mean, if you just watch the game, they had no answer for him. Like, he's going down. He's hitting pull-up three.
There is no answer.
He's blown by defenders. You try to post him up. You can't. They're trying to front the post. They just throw it over. Like, there's literally no answer for this man. Pick and roll.
There's no answer.
He can pick and roll. He can pick and pop. He can dribble all the way down. And I mean, he can bring the ball up. I mean, I don't know what you. There's really no answer for this guy. It's very hard.
No,
can't really stop him. So,
fact or cap? Victor Wembanyama will be an All-Star this season. You guys put out all the numbers, but I'm gonna give you some ones that we haven't heard yet. Only Spurs to put up 35 points and a double-double. I'm sure we can all name the 3 Spurs on this list, so I'll do it for us. We have Victor Wembanyama, Tim Duncan, and David Robinson.
Like ever?
The only teenagers in NBA history to record 35 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks.
LeBron?
Can anybody give me those other 2 guys?
LeBron, is he one of them?
LeBron is one of them.
Will Chamberlain?
Nope. He's a current player.
Oh, current player. Damn. Luka?
Nope.
No.
It's tougher because they got rid of the high school rule a while back.
You say he has to be a teenager?
Oh,
yes.
Dwight Howard?
When they did it, they were teenagers. So the second
Dwight
player,
Howard?
No, it's Kevin Durant. So he is on a list with pretty good company.
I saw
so
list
can
with,
he?
like, him, Steph, and like LeBron and all those? Yeah, it's crazy.
So can he be an All-Star in his first year? Hell yeah. Like Alex said, took the words from my notes. It looked like she might have been here when I was typing my notes. The NBA is a business. Every so often, we get a superstar into the NBA. The Luka Doncic, the LeBron James, the Kevin Durant. They're all spaced out. So when they come, they're going to make a huge impact from day one. Alex and even Shaun are K-pop fans, and they single-handedly got Andrew Wiggins into the starting 5. The NBA is the business. Victor Wembanyama can't be an All-Star. And another thing that no one mentioned was the guys in front of him. get hurt a lot. You know, Anthony Davis, is he going to be hurt? Is Sabonis going to be hurt?
Yeah.
So, you know, he's definitely a top 5 big man, but if the other 2 guys ahead of him are hurt, he's getting in. Or he can be an injury reserve for a guard because, like Shaun mentioned, it's positionless. So, do I believe he's going to make it on the first go? Yes. But if there is an injury, a sick, a COVID, anything, they're not even calling nobody else. It's straight to Victor. Like, hey, Victor, pack your bags and come. If no one plays, you're just coming to watch. But if someone twists an ankle or anything, Victor Wembanyama, year 1 All-Star.
Well,
so I'm gonna have to go fast
for like the Rising. He's gonna be in the Rising Star.
He's not playing in no Rising Stars game. For what? He's a star. But the other one's a Rising. He's risen.
Make it in his first year, and LeBron was literally the chosen one. He didn't even make his first year. That's kind of what I'm looking at it like LeBron didn't make it his first. I'm like, Kevin, you're the LeBronologist here. You're supposed to be preaching the word of how LeBron didn't even make it his first year. And now all of a sudden, Wemby's gonna make it, which is insane to say.
So I'm pretty sure back in 2003, it was like coaches voting you in, but now that it's a business, dude. Like he's like Taylor Swift. They go. Everyone in Paris is put a Victor Wembanyama starting. They're gonna hit the NBA app and hit Victor. That's a whole country. There's no way he's not an all-star. The only way he's not an all-star is if they're hurt. Toddy mentioned that he has them as a play-in lock. The Spurs had the number 1 pick a season ago. If he gets them to the play-in, that has to be enough to get him into the all-star game. So I'm going to have to go fact as well.
Well, that'd be hindsight because the play-in would be after the all-star game. But
they'll still be on pace. They'll be better than they were at all-star break last year.
The Spurs are the 5th seed currently. They're tied for the 5th seed.
Hey, man. Victor show.
Well, the vote is currently at 3-1 that Victor will be an all-star. And let's just make it 4-1 because we have 2 members of the Dent family on this panel. And now let's make it a third. As Mr. Dent says, fact, he does a little bit of everything. Plus, he was calling for the ball down the stretch. The hype will make him an all-star or fill-in, not a starter. And tell us how you really feel, Kevin. Tell us how you really feel. That's what we all want to know. But anyways, as we move on here on the 60th episode of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent, Jaevon Toddy, Alex Dent. Now let's get to the team that half of this panel is a fan of. And I'm not talking about Kevin and myself because joining us tonight is Alex. So Jaevon isn't the only Celtics fan on tonight's panel. And the Celtics have started 4-0. So I ask of you all a simple question, and Kevin, I'm going to start things off with you because you are the unbiased one for this question, at least. And I want to know, are the Celtics for real after their 4-0 start, Kevin?
Fuck. As much as I wanted to come in here.
Before you answer that question, we put up 150
language.
points. We put up 150 points. Just want to put that out there.
So before when these came up with the topics, I'm like, you know what? How can I hate? Toddy came in here without saying, hey, how you doing? He goes, how the Kings fans feeling? So I wanted to come in here and just be straight toxic and say it's a fluke, A, B, C, and D. But this team starting off 4-0 and it's legit. You know, it's different nights. You know, we saw the first game with Porzingis going out there and 4 blocks, 35 points and doing his thing. Jason Tatum is averaging 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. It is a foregone conclusion that he will be a top 3 MVP candidate this year. So playing behind that, you have Kristaps Porzingis averaging 19.7 rebounds and 1 block, shooting 50, 60, 40. I know we're only 4 games in. I know you guys are going to say it's a small sample size. Can KP stay healthy the whole year? I have all the same questions, but we can only go off what we've seen. The biggest takeaway I've taken is Derek White. He is having the best year as a pro. You know, he was supposed to be the starting point guard before they were brought in Jrue Holiday. So he was preparing all offseason to take this leap, and he's doing it. He's averaging 16 points, which is career high. The closest he's been was 15 points in 2020. So Derek White, his extension, we've seen Peyton Pritchard coming in and playing good minutes. As long as this team can stay healthy, I think they're going to go a long way. The only concern that I have is I do not agree with Jaylen Brown being the 3rd star. I do not agree with him being the 3rd fiddle.
Really?
Well,
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we're not worried about it. I guess my time. I'm just gonna force myself in here. I'm not really worried about Jaylen Brown first couple of games. He needs to get himself right. We're trying to integrate Porzingis kind of in our lineup. Whether that's him posting up at the block, spotting up for three, getting him involved in pick and rolls. I think that's what we're kind of trying to even everything out. I feel like Derek White's been playing his ass off. Drew Holiday, being the vet that he is, has been doing what he needs to do. Pretty much guarding everyone's best player. JT looks like an MVP candidate. I don't think that's really. If you just watch the games, the tape is all there. Celtics put up 150 points. We beat the Pacers by like 50, 30. I think like 30 points or something like that. And I mean, just this team is gelling really well. Joe Mazzulla in his second year. I just think right now everything has been looking right. But as a Celtics fan, I know that we have a very up and down season. Not sure if this will be one of those seasons, but I feel like the team has started off really hot. And they get in these weird stretches, I'd say like in the middle of the season where they'll lose, like I think it was a couple of years ago. That might have been the year we went to the finals. We lost like 8 games straight. And that was like right before All-Star break. And then we kind of just went on a crazy run. We were like the 8 or 9 seed, and then we ended up becoming like the number 2 or 3 seed, I think, that year was the finals. But I think if JT keeps playing at this level, he could definitely win the MVP for sure. I just want to see this team consistently do this in like 4 or 5 game spurts. Like, can we have like a spurt where we go 4-0, 5-0? Can we go 3-1? We can't have these stretches where we go like 2-3, 1-4, like bullshit like that. It's gonna, like, I get it's an 82 game season, but I feel like you have to break the season up into increments, and in those increments, you got to go 5-0, you got to go 4-1. 5-0, 4-1, 5-0, 4-1, maybe even a couple of 3-2s mixed in there. You can't have those stretches where you go 0-5, 1-4, which I've seen happen several of times because it's my team. I'm going to be watching them. So the lineup looks great. I think it's great. I have no complaints right now. I'm just kind of waiting for the fuckery to come in, which usually happens in the middle of the season. But right now, we're the best team in the league. That's record-wise. I mean, record-wise, the Mavericks are also the best in the league, but they're down by 10 to the Nuggets right now. But right now, as far as just fit from the standpoint, what we've added in the offseason, pretty much everything mixing together, I feel like the Celtics are the best team in the league. So, yes,
Alex,
the Celtics are for real. Sorry.
It's all good. Alex, do you believe that the Celtics are the best team not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA?
I think so, because I think the way their team is constructed, but I'm not going to say they're for real after this 4-0 start. Like, they played Indiana without Tyrese Halliburton. So, like, of course they should beat them by 50. That's what they should do. But they beat the Wizards. Like, I think they played Indy twice, right, in those 4 games, I think. So it's just like, and they played the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks are pretty decent. I'm not saying the Knicks are like a bad team, but they're just like in the middle tier, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, they haven't had really good competition in those 4 games for me to say, oh my gosh, they're so good, right? As a Celtics fan, I understand what Tony said. They have ups and downs, right? But they should win these 4 games. Like, this is non-negotiable, you know? Whether they had the same squad last year, they have a different squad, right? So I think they are, but this 4-0 start doesn't impress me because I think that it should be like that. Now, I think it is impressive that Porzingis is playing the way he is, because I wasn't expecting him to move like this. I didn't really watch Porzingis in the Wizards, so I watched a few games, but I just didn't know he could do all of this. The same, I don't know. He kind of reminds me of the way he was when he was with the Knicks for a few years, in the beginning. So I just wasn't expecting that. But I think they are for real.
I'm glad that you mentioned the way that Porzingis was with the Knicks, because it kind of ties in with what we just talked about with Victor Wembanyama, where when Porzingis was like at his peak before he tore his ACL, like, I thought that he could potentially be one of the best European players ever. Now it seems like Luka and Giannis and Victor are going to be the ones in that discussion. And I didn't even just mention the MVP in Nikola Jokic, former back-to-back MVP, and even the reigning MVP, Joel Embiid, even though Joel Embiid is going to play for Team USA. So I think
I was going to say, is he an American now? Do we still call him a European?
Yeah, from Cameroon. Yeah, I think him playing for Team USA kind of eliminates him from that discussion. But there are still plenty of great European players. And so now, unless anyone else has anything else to say about the Celtics and their 4-0 start, that brings us to this week in the NBA, as we each have 2 teams to talk about from each conference, and really anything that you feel needs to be talked about from this past week in the NBA. And so, Jaevon, you seem, I don't know if I'm reading your body language incorrectly, but you seem like you're ready to go for this week in the NBA. So tell us what's on your mind.
Okay, so are we just going to go by conference, or we just go? I'll just do 2 in the East real quick. So
do whatever you want. We're kind of free balling it right now.
So I'm going to do 1 team from each conference. So the one team that I wanted to talk about was in the Eastern Conference was the Pistons. I feel like the Pistons starting off really. If we would have did this, unfortunately we had some things come up last week. Life happens, guys. Sorry. If we would have did this podcast last week, I would have been like, Pistons are one of the best teams in the East. That Cade is on a tear. But since then they've lost 3 straight. I feel like they started off fairly hot and kind of cooled down a little bit. I think Duran got hurt in one of the games. But the Pistons beat like teams they were supposed to be, like Chicago. They're an up and down team. I thought I feel like Cade has been playing really good. I feel like he could be a guy that will look out for most improved, even though most improved is really just a guy who we already think is good, but now everyone else is starting
their breakout year.
And then they're just like, oh, this guy's really good. Like, Cade was the number 1 pick. Like, come on, guys. He just got hurt. I feel like they should kind of watch out for the Pistons. I had them 9th in my preseason, rankings on where they'd be. So I feel like the Pistons are a good enough team in the East to make the play-ins. So kind of just keep a lookout for them. I feel like Duran has been a guy who pretty much grabs everything off of the glass. Been averaging close to around 11 rebounds a game. So kind of watch out for that. Cade's been playing really cool. Ivy, I forgot Jaden Ivey was on the team. I was like, who is this guy?
With the fresh cut.
Yeah, with the fresh cut. And then I was like, oh, that's Ivy. Cut his hair. I was like, who is this guy out there kind of making plays? I feel like Asar has been playing really well. He pretty much has been doing everything from getting blocks, steals, having the ball in his hands with assists. So if you're looking for props, Asar Thompson on assists, it hits every single time. They only want him to have 3 assists. He ends up having like 3 and up. I haven't seen him have anything less than 3. So look out for that if you guys are betting, because I'm a betting man. My other team that I want to talk about is the Golden State Warriors. These guys are like cockroaches, man. They do not die, bro. I don't understand how they're making it work, and they just won again tonight. They're 5-1, bro. Like, I don't see how this team is able to score, but Stephen Curry has been like obviously their main scorer because he's been just 40 ball, 35, 20. He'll still hit like 4 or 5 threes in the game. It's very frustrating, I know, to Kings fans because they've already played them twice, and Steph Curry has dominated in both of those games.
No, thanks for the reminder.
With Klay Thompson not really shooting the ball well and kind of just, Chris Paul's not really a scorer. And I don't know, man. Steve Kerr is a freaking wizard. He's been coaching his ass off. Steph Curry they were without Draymond for a couple of games. Gary Payton II is playing well. Kuminga looks good. I don't know how they're like, if you kind of watch how their offense is, it's kind of like a lot of pass and cut. They're just getting guys the ball. A lot of guys are cutting open to the basket, and it's mixed in with Steph Curry getting threes, pick and pop with Draymond. Dario Saric, man, he is a guy that does not have good hands when rolling to the basket. If you watch him roll to the basket, oh, God. Like, he drops the ball rolls out of bounds. Like, the only way you can get Dario Saric the ball is on a pick and pop. That is the only – like, if you watch the down the stretch of that Kings game, Chris Paul was getting him in a bunch of pick and pop spots. But if you saw him rolling to the basket, he was – oh, my God, the ball is – I can't He's
a shooter.
He was getting stripped, or the ball was going out of bounds, or it was a turnover. So I have no idea how I was not super duper high on the Warriors because I said that they would be like 4. I think I have them as the 5th seed, like around that, but they're exceeding my expectations because I didn't know how this whole Chris Paul fiasco was going to be because he's a smaller guard, and if you're looking around, you take Steph Curry off the team, you're like, who else is going to score points on this team? I would want to say Klay Thompson, but Klay Thompson has not been showing me that as of lately. Albeit he hit the game winner 2 nights ago. That was, if you look at his numbers, he shot like 6. He was like, he had 15 points off like 14 shots. So it's not like he's shooting the ball crazy. But I mean, the Warriors are figuring out ways to, I don't know, man. They're 5-1. So
I'm still alive.
Yeah, they won't die, bro. As long as Steph Curry's on the team, this team will figure out.
Have a chance.
Yeah.
Alex, what's something that you wanted to talk about from this week in the NBA?
So I'm going to talk about 2 teams. Is it both conferences or just 2 teams in general?
Just 2 teams.
Just 2
Whichever
teams in
you
general?
want.
Okay. So I'll just do one from both. Maybe I'll do 2. No. Maybe I'll do 2 from both.
Go ahead.
I'll be quick. Okay, so the first one is the Orlando Magic. And I was not expecting to talk about them this early in the season, but they have kind of been creeping up on my, okay, let me watch the Magic this week, or let me watch this game. Their defense has definitely improved. Granted, small sample size, but it seems like they're very locked in. Like they could, this might be a stretch, but I think they could be the top 10 defense in the league.
Could be.
One of them. I honestly
long.
believe that.
Pause.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're quick, they're young, they could get at it, right? And they're 5th in the East right now. They're 3-2. So
they're like tied for 5th. Yeah, there's a bunch of teams there like 3-2. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another team from the East is the Cavs. A little bit of a disappointment. Granted, Garland has been out and injured, but I just feel like this team is missing something, and I don't exactly know what it is.
I don't know.
And I don't want to say Donovan Mitchell has reached his cap, but it just seems like Donovan Mitchell is not enough for this team.
He had 38 tonight. Just want
and he's great. Don't ever get me wrong. I just feel like something.
Yeah.
No, it's never going to be his fault because he puts in everything. But I just feel like with that system, with that team, I don't know if they could get that done because they should have beat the Knicks in the first round. And they lost twice to the Knicks. I think it was at home too. So it was just, I don't know. I was expecting them to win both of them or just do 1-1. I don't know.
He has not signed an extension, by the way.
Yeah, he's about to dip. Yeah. So I'll go to the West real quick. Obviously, we can't talk about the West without talking about the Mavs. Luka is on a mission this year. I think he did a 50 ball in like the first 3 games, like the third game. Yeah, something like that. I like saw it and it was like, yeah, Luka Doncic, 49 points. I'm like, 49 points? Like usually, the first 3 games they're trying to get conditioned, right? You have a new team, new squad. But he was like, nah, like I'm on a go. I'm trying to get back to the Western Conference Finals and the finals this year. So I'm looking out for them. And then another team. Yeah. I think Shea might get it. I don't know.
Think about that.
Yeah. And then we talked about it already, but or a little bit, but the Pelicans. I'm just excited to see Zion just play consistently and for 82 games. So
I pray it's 82 games.
Yes. But I am surprised on how well they're doing so far. How well he could kind of always fit back into that system, being gone for so long throughout the years. So I'm excited.
I don't think they'll play Zion 82 games though. They're gonna sit him out a couple. Yeah.
No, I know, but I just want him to play and not get hurt. That's all I want. Like I'm tired of him just sitting on the bench. Like I'm tired of it. And then everyone says he's out of shape. And then all this.
The Naruto outfits.
I'm just over it. I'm over it. Oh, yeah. I forgot to talk about the Nets. Well, whatever.
You still have the floor. You still got the mic. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I was going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets because Ben Simmons, and I don't want to say he's been a surprising. he is surprising in a way, but he has a totally different role with the Nets than he did with the 76ers. So it's very interesting to me how he's kind of fitting that slot because he's bringing up the ball sometimes, but it's usually Dinwiddie or sometimes Bridges, but it's mostly Dinwiddie. So he's not like the real point guard. He's really trying like a forward now. But it's just interesting to me because he has those handles. I just need to watch him a bit more to see how he kind of fits into that system. But yeah.
He's
They're
never really
interesting.
been
They're
the guy
surprising.
that scores. So if you're looking at him for scoring, you're going to see 4, 5, 6 points in his scoring tab. But if you look at it like assists, rebounds, 11, you'll see 9 rebounds, couple blocks. Like, is Ben Simmons back to his old defensive player of the year ways? I'm not sure. All-star, dare I say? Shaun's boy, as I like to say. Going back to the Shaun of Law days. This is his guy, Ben Simmons. So I think he's been playing pretty well to his standards as of late. I mean, this is kind of what they needed. I don't know if he's got his mojo back or not, but I feel like he should be a little bit more aggressive with the ball. But, I mean, he's never really been an aggressive type of guy. He's always looking to get guys more involved and pretty much clean the glass. I mean, he's 6'11", for Christ's sake. So
he doesn't want the smoke anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't want what happened in Game 7.
Yeah.
He doesn't want it at all.
And Alex, the quick backstory with that is mainly just that I bet on the 76ers to beat the Hawks in the 2021 Eastern Conference playoffs. Then the Hawks pulled off the upset and Ben Simmons let me down. Like, Trae Young is right there and he's like, I don't want the ball. And he gets rid of it. And so ever since then, Ben Simmons has been my boy. But Jaevon, let's not forget about what happened in the next round when we made it double or nothing and the Milwaukee Bucks took care of business against the Hawks. But Trae did get hurt. Anyways, that was Shaun and Vaughn. This is Stats Over Politics. So, Kevin, let's hear from you. What did you like from this week in the NBA?
Kings, baby.
So I hope, Shaun, that I don't steal anything off of your list like Toddy and Alex did to mine. So my list has now been cut in half. So something that really stood out to me is the Milwaukee Bucks. You know, yeah, they're now 3-2. When I did this, they were 2-2, but they had a 1-point W against Philly, and they last year through 5 games, they were the number 1 ranked team in defense. This year, 29th. So Drew Holiday, Dame exchange, you know, yes, it's on the offensive end, but we all know on the defensive end how much of an impact that's going to take. The Heat's third string got them back into the game. The Heat or the Bucks had to play that game to the wire. There are 2 losses this year to the, like Shaun was just mentioned, the Atlanta Hawks. They gave up 127 points to the Atlanta Hawks. You gave up 130 points to the Raptors. The Raptors starting 5 shot 71% for the whole game.
Yeah, they couldn't miss.
They shot 19 of 22 in the restricted area. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez, and you guys are just letting people run to the rim. This rookie coach, Adrian Griffin, is not known for this defensive end. So I think that they're going to have to pick it up on the defensive end. Yes, they can score a lot of points, but if they can't guard a door, this team isn't going to be able to be what we want. I had them going to the NBA Finals. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it the way they're playing. And the biggest thing from the Bucks is Chris Middleton. 16 minutes a night, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He's shooting 22% from 3 and 37% from the field. When we talk about big threes, that third guy is still up there. He's not in the 20-point game, but he's 18 to 20 points a night. He's going to contribute. If a second guy go down, they're going to step into that role. When you think big threes, you think the Chris Boshes of the world, the Klay Thompsons. They showed up night in, night out. Chris Middleton's not doing that. We've seen he's had a really bad injury history. He's on the court, he's off the court, he's on the court, he's off the court. And another team I want to talk about, the Miami Heat. When I was doing my notes, they were 1-4. Now they're 2-4 because they just got the W, but they've lost to Boston, Minnesota, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn. Can we talk about Jimmy no buckets? He's averaging 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's shooting 36% from the field and 25% from 3. Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo are probably the only bright spots on this team. All we heard was Tyler Hero's going here, he's going here, he's going here. 26 points a night, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, 4 assists. Bam Adebayo, Gary's guy, said he was better than AD. I don't agree with that. But Bam is averaging 22 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 3 assists. I am a big guy of I hate players that play a lot of minutes and don't do jack shit for this team. Kyle Lowry. He averages 31 minutes a night. He averages 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. This just goes to show how bad they needed to win one of these offseason trades or signings. They went for Dame. They went for Malcolm Brogdon. They went for Drew Holiday because they knew Kyle Lowry is up there in age. Yes, he has a ring from Toronto, so he has the experience. But in the modern day in NBA, can he guard the worst point guard in the NBA? Like, we got to keep it honest. Like, this team is not what we expected to do. They're really just riding off the momentum from the past 2 years. This team lost a lot in the offseason. A lot of the guys that were carrying them on that finals run, Max Strus is in Cleveland, Gabe Vincent is a Laker. So this whole undrafted narrative is now just left to Caleb Martin. And he's struggling as well. So this team is really not playing well. And in my opinion, no trolling aside, it started when Jimmy came as Goff Jimmy. After the run you had last year, you're supposed to come in, put your hard hat on, fuck the Bucks, fuck the Celtics, but Jimmy was just being Jimmy. So that's one thing the two things that I stood out. And then thirdly, Jalen Duren, 15 points. 12 rebounds, 3 blocks a night. He is playing in front of number 2 overall draft picks in James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley. Let me just give you guys some stats of another really great big man in their second year. Memphis. Yeah. So this guy is named Dwight Howard in his second year. 16 points, 13 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. So Jalen Duren is in great company with his second year. So Jalen Duren is definitely someone that I wanted to come out here and say. And just like Toddy, if we would have done the show last week, this would have been the first guy I brought up. But Jalen Duren and the Pistons are playing very well.
But is the Heat surprising, though? They're just a mediocre regular season team. You know what I mean?
But 1-4 is not mediocre. That's just bad.
I know, I get that. But to me, the Heat are just like, we just need that 10th spot. We just need to beat they're 6. They just need to beat like 4 or 6 other teams just to get in there, because they obviously made it last year. So now they just don't care where they are, right? Home court advantage or not, right? So but also Bam was out for one of those Milwaukee games as well. So they haven't had that full team, but I think the different roles these players have to play now, it's going to have some time to adjust. Yeah, you have to build those other players, right? Like the Duncan Robinsons, the Struces, the Vincents, right? Because it takes time. So I think they're not out that conversation yet, but they're just a mediocre regular season game. This is what the Heat do. And then playoff Jimmy, and then he'll score 50 points and he'll beat the number 1 seed, and who cares about the rest?
I mean, we talk about them doing that, and if Giannis doesn't go down, this whole narrative is shot in the foot because they're not making it out the first round. So the Heat have been getting a lot of luck going their way, but to start off 1-4 after a finals run, being one of the first team in play-in history to go from the play-in to the NBA finals, coming off of that season to come like this is not a hot start. So I'm hoping I didn't steal any of your this week in the NBA, Shaun.
I think that you guys covered it pretty well. Alex, please excuse my language, but the Heat and Jimmy Butler do not give a fuck about the regular season. That has been proven year after year, and we see what happens when they get into the playoffs. Just like I was talking about earlier with the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, and that group, is they don't care about the regular season. They just want to get in because they've learned after year, it doesn't really matter if you have a 1, 2, 3 seed because home court advantage isn't what it used to be in the NBA. And so the Heat just want to get in, just like the Clippers just want to get in. The one thing I will say for this week in the NBA, and I'm kind of just going to cover the last couple weeks in the NBA because I was unable to join you guys for the preview episode and we didn't have an episode last week. I'm just going to talk about the hometown team being the Sacramento Kings because, Toddy wants to clown us. He wants to get all over us.
It's not your fault.
Oh, thank you. You're far too kind. And so they're Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, obviously the Splash Bros, 2 greatest shooters of all time. The Kings are like those players away from being undefeated. Like, and I say those players because obviously they have to play the Warriors. But you know, just taking it game by game through the Kings' first 4 games of the regular season, I really love what I saw in that first game. Like Harrison Barnes went nuts with those 27 points in the first half, and he carried them to that 16-point halftime lead. And the thing I found most encouraging about that win on the road in Utah is, yeah, it's the Jazz. But the point is the Kings had a double-digit lead at halftime, and then they won by that same difference. They led by 16 at halftime. They won that game by 16 points. Harrison Barnes was a big part of it. Then, obviously, Steph Curry drops 40 points, and the Kings lose the second game of the season, their home opener, because he wanted to go nuts on ESPN. Then the Kings win in overtime against LeBron, Anthony Davis in the Lakers at home. De'Aaron Fox has a really bad ankle sprain. For him to come back in that game and to play through the rest of the fourth quarter, will the Kings to overtime, and then him not having enough in him to win the game for them in overtime and have his Kentucky running mate in Malik Monk step up, drop 11 points in that overtime period, win the Kings that game against the Lakers. It was the third game of the season, but it was a big win for the Kings early on.
Huge.
And then obviously you have Steph, then Sabonis matches it, takes the lead back, and Klay Thompson wins it nearly at the buzzer. And so the Kings are a couple of close losses to the Warriors away from being undefeated. And earlier in the show, we were talking about how the Warriors are 5-1. They're looking like one of the best teams in the NBA. The Kings have only lost to them. And so I feel very encouraged about the Kings 2-2 record so far through 4 games. And that's the main thing that I wanted to talk about with this week in the NBA here on episode number 60 of Stats Over Politics. As we move on to NBA Rookie Watch, we each were tasked with picking 2 rookies and just discussing them. So, Alex, I'm going to start things off with you. Who are 2 rookies that you've enjoyed what you've seen so far in the NBA?
So I'm going to steal everyone's, and I'm going to say Victor, because obviously he's must-watch TV at the moment. So I'm not going to speak on that a lot. But I've been watching a lot of OKC with Chet, just to see kind of how he's moving, how he's defending, how he's kind of fitting into that system. So those are probably my 2. Sorry, I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say Scoot, also from Portland. He's not, and I don't want to say he's adjusting, right? This is a grown man's league.
That's
right?
a nice way to put it.
And so it's just, I think it's just, he needs time to figure it out. I hope. But I'm not going to say he's a flop. Yeah. So I'm going to say, give him some time. So,
Jaevon, do you have 2 rookies that you want to talk about?
Yeah. I just want to go off of what Alex was talking about earlier about Chet Holmgren. He had 24 tonight. In the absence of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which the Warriors only won by 2 points. So it's kind of saying a lot about OKC and how good they actually can be. One of my rookies, I kind of talked about him a little bit earlier in the podcast, Ausar Thompson. I think he's just been a guy. I think a lot of people, a lot of draft boards were kind of saying that Amen was the better rookie or the better twin that is them coming out of the OTE league pretty much. But Ausar, I think he's been playing well. He's averaging 11, 9, and 4, which is crazy. Kind of sprinkle a couple of blocks. He's almost averaging 2 blocks a game, which is nuts. He's just been a guy that we were like, okay, what is he going to be on this team with a guy and Cade coming in and Jaden Ivey already? And he was kind of figured as a guy who can, handle the ball, but he's more of a wing. I think he's like, what, 6'6"?
6'7".
Yeah, he's 6'7". So he's going to be a guy in the wing that can handle the ball, get to the basket, a slasher. I feel like if he shoots the ball a little bit better, he'll be three-point. He's not really taking that many threes. So I feel like if he, he's just really, trying to mesh. Like I feel like a lot of these rookies are just trying to just fit into this, system, whatever system that they're in. And I feel like Ausar has kind of been those guys. That's not a Chet Holmgren or a Victor Wembanyama, kind of just, who's been sticking out. Another guy I kind of wanted to talk about was Keontae George for the Utah Jazz. Not Keontae is. I think he's not. He's coming off of the bench, so he wasn't really. He was picked in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. First round.
No, Keontae went lottery.
Oh, Keontae did definitely go to lottery. So I feel like he is a guy that can definitely work. He was a guy coming out of high school as one of the number one players in the country. Going to Baylor. I don't think he had the best season in college at Baylor, just because of how college is. Some guys that are like really good with the ball in their hands and kind of getting their own shot in college don't really pan out as well as far as system goes. But when they get to the NBA, they're like, oh my God, this guy can get to the basket and he can average 30, this, that, and the third. So I feel like Keontae is a guy that we'll have to watch. He's averaging 7 and 3 right now. That's off of 19 points a game. I feel like his minutes increase, and I feel like he can be their starting point guard. And just the dynamic of him being, I think he's a guy who can definitely create his own shot. If he just gets a little bit more opportunities there in Utah, the dynamic of him and Lauri Markkanen could be a very scary duo with them in the pick and roll. So Keontae George is a guy I would definitely watch out for, albeit it's only been 6 games, so very small sample size with these guys. Look for his minutes to increase, and you'll see his production increase as well. So I feel like with the limited time minutes that he's getting, he's been producing for the Utah Jazz, and I feel like once his minutes go up, his stats will definitely inflate as well. So Keontae George and Asor Thompson are my 2 rookies to watch.
Okay, Kevin, let's hear about how great Brandon Miller is.
Hey, man.
That's why I didn't say him, because I knew Kev was going to do it.
Alex, I came on the pod during the NBA preview, not the NBA preview, maybe during the draft, and I put on the glasses and I said, Summer League. I said, even Stevie Wonder can see Brandon Miller is one of them once.
He's good.
16 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. I said he was going to average 18 and 6, so 2 more points, and Kevin's hitting. Kevin's on the money. He's shooting 42% from 3, 47% from the field in his 3rd NBA game. We talk about Wemby going off. It's not Wemby, but 22 and 9 is pretty good. This is my 3rd day out here.
Yeah.
And I'm out here doing my thing. I think Miles Bridges going down. We're not going to expand on that. Him having his issues again is really just going to heighten his Brandon Miller sitting, because that is going to take the role that he did before Miles Bridges got into all his things. He was on the way to becoming a supermax player. So seeing Brandon Miller now taking that spot is going to just see him flourish. And the other guy, he's not starting.
Why is he not starting? I don't understand that.
Because they freaking love Gordon Hayward, bro. I cannot wait for the Hornets to just say, Rozier and Hayward, pack your bags. Like, we're just going to let the young guys
Rozier's a bucket.
But they can get a lot for those guys. But secondly, I'm going to have to take Toddy. Asor Thompson has been doing his thing. Toddy mentioned his numbers, but I'm going to mention some numbers that Toddy did not mention. He is averaging 4 offensive rebounds a night as a 6'7" wing player. Yeah. He's averaging 9 a night. He's had 3 out of his 5 games, 3 of them have had 10+ rebounds, and the other 2 finished with 7+. Mm-hmm. So this guy is all over the place. We know that he's going to come in here. He's going to be a defender, like Toddy said, to play around Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham. They already have all this motion going on, so just plug and play him in there. He's guarding the best player every night as a rookie. You don't see many rookies wanting to step up at 18, 19 years old and saying, I'm going to take the number 1 guy. So those are the 2 rookies that have been spectacular to watch, besides, of course, the Victors, the Chets, and the Scoots. I wanted to make sure that I kind of dove into some other rookies that aren't getting so much love.
And now Shaun's going to say Colby Jones.
No, I'm not going to talk about Colby Jones. So first guy I wanted to mention has already been mentioned, but I wanted to mention one stat that I thought was pretty cool, and that's for Chet Holmgren, who is the first player in NBA history to register 13+ 3-pointers and 13+ blocks over the first 6 games of their career. So
it's pretty good.
Chet is just, it is pretty good. And yeah. Chet is just showing why he was picked as high as he was, and why some people have picked him to win Rookie of the Year over a Victor Wembanyama. And exactly. Yes, indeed. Kevin, I got you. But also, some other guy I wanted to mention, and Kevin, I'm honestly kind of disappointed that you didn't mention this guy yourself, and that's Derek Lively II. of the Dallas Mavericks.
He's been balling.
Because
He's been balling.
he's been balling, and he's averaging 8.5 points per game and nearly 8 rebounds per game and a block. Nearly 80% field goal percentage, 78.9.
All dunks.
But the thing that I wanted to talk about mainly with Derek is that I've thought it's pretty cool how Tyson Chandler, former NBA vet, has taken him under his wing. And for those of you who aren't locked into
right?
Exactly, and so he's taken him under his wing. And Tyson Chandler, he's a guy who was an NBA champion with the Dallas Mavericks, and he said that he sees a lot of Derek Lively in himself, or a lot of himself in Derek Lively. And so I just thought it was kind of cool how he's taken him under his wing, and he could really maximize Derek's potential. And Derek's played well so far this season. And Kevin, as a Dookie, we're going to get to a Duke topic later on, a big one. But I'm just surprised that you didn't mention Derek yourself, Kevin.
I wanted to, man, because he's exactly what Luka needs. You know, them having to play Dwight Powell at center, going from Dwight Powell to Derek Lively is the grass is greener for sure.
Yeah. So now, Kevin, I'm going to keep things with you because I want to hear 2 surprises and 2 disappointments that you've seen early in the NBA season.
So, 2 of the surprises, or one of the surprises that I've seen throughout this NBA season, this short NBA season. I know when I say this, everyone's going to say, Kevin, just wait. Just wait. Anthony Davis, 26 points, 13 rebounds, 3 blocks. I know, Alex, I know for the audio-only listeners, Alex is rolling her eyes. Everyone's looking up like, Kevin, don't fall for it. Every year we go through it. We see the preseason. We see it. We see all the hype, and he's coming out and playing well. Yes, he still has his, 4 or 5 possessions where you don't score, don't get a rebound, don't get a block, and he's just running up and down the court, setting a couple screens. But he is continuously playing well. He's not playing as well as I wanted him to. I was wanting him to kind of come in and go for the MVP, to take that mantle from LeBron James, but LeBron James is still carrying that mantle. So Anthony Davis is only playing better. So, but if he's out there, this Lakers team is going to continue to play very well. And something I'm disappointed in is the Houston Rockets. I was saying all season how Ime Udoka was going to come in here. He had the blueprint from the Celtics. He's bringing in the good vets to change the culture, like Jeff Green, Fred VanVleet, and Dylan Brooks. And I think it all just comes down to it's just the Rockets, man. They're 22nd worst offense. They're the 27th worst defense in the NBA. Their leading scorer is Alfred Sengun, who is also someone I've been very surprised with. He's averaging 19.6 rebounds, 9 assists. He is doing everything on the floor for them. We talked about, a factor cap if Jalen Green's going to be average 25 points a night, and he's only averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Fred VanVleet is not playing well whatsoever. He's averaging 17 points and 9 assists. This team is just kind of getting through the humps. I am really upset that Amen Thompson has not been getting more playing time, especially with all the Kevin Porter stuff. He has not really been he's not been getting the shine that, I really thought he was going to come. And yes, I believe in Ime Udoka. I believe they can turn it around. But as of right now, they are definitely one of the disappointments because I'm going to have to die on this sword. I said they're going to make the plan. So we're going to have to turn it around here in Houston, you guys. We're going to turn it around, Ime. Do whatever you got to do. Go sleep with the owner's wife. Do whatever you got to do, Ime. We got to get the narrative spinning again positively in Houston.
How's that positive?
Hey, man. What does it say, Shaun? Any feedback is good feedback, or not feedback, but any news header, any publicity is good publicity, man. They're 1-4. Let's bring some life to Houston.
Alex, you don't seem too happy about what he had to say there.
No, not at all.
Well, what surprised and disappointed you early in the NBA season?
Well, I had one in my head, but then Kevin was talking too long, and now I don't remember. But I will say a surprise. I would say I don't want to say they're like I think starting off with how many games have been played this season, the Orlando Magic have surprised me. I don't think they'll be
last night.
And I think they were playing the
Lakers?
Utah Jazz or something like that.
Last night, they were playing the Jazz.
Yeah, that was a great game.
Yeah.
And so it's just I don't know. That team right now is just gelling. And so I think they're very surprising to me that I've watched probably 3 of their games so far. A disappointment. I had a disappointment team. But I would
we
say
can circle back with you
no.
if it
I got
needs
it.
to
I have
register.
it. Because I'm not
Okay,
gonna say
let's
the
hear it.
biggest. I'm not gonna say the biggest disappointment because I know you guys are gonna talk about the Memphis Grizzlies later. But I would say the Cavaliers. Just with like everything going on, it's just something is not right with that system. That's why I wanted to say the Houston Rockets. The reason why I think Ime Udoka is a great coach, but he also had the Boston Celtics system and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with him. So I'm
That
not
helps.
saying like that one season wasn't a fluke, right? But I think when you're coming to a rebuilding team, like it's going to be ugly, right? And so I kind of expected the Rockets to kind of do that, right? But Kevin has them in the play-in. They're not making it at all. But I would say the Cleveland Cavaliers, because I have them third in the East, above Philly. I think they're the top of the second tier in the East. I think that's how good they can be. But they haven't been proving it to me lately. So I am disappointed in them.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell's been putting up the numbers, but just something hasn't been clicking with the Cavaliers. And you mentioned it earlier how it even dates back to last season where they got upset by the Knicks. So it'll be interesting to see if how they've started is kind of just a sign of things to come or if it's just an early season slump. So, Jaevon, I wanted to hear from you next. What's your surprises and disappointments early in the NBA season?
One of my surprises, I had a couple, but it's already been sprinkled, talked about a little bit. I'm gonna say the Pacers are one of my slight surprises, being 3-2. They just won tonight. Tyrese Halliburton hit a step back three. I'm pretty sure all Kings fans are familiar of who this man is and what he has.
I love that guy.
Capability of doing. I think when healthy, because we kind of saw the Pacers were playing pretty well at the end of last year, but then Halliburton, I think he hurt his ankle. And then they kind of just drifted off into the ether of the Eastern Conference. And they didn't make the plan. They pretty much just missed the playoffs. But I feel like with a healthy Tyrese Halliburton, you got guys like Buddy Hield knocking down shots, Ben Mathurin, Obi Toppin, and Miles Turner. I thought he played really well tonight. Who did say he was top 5 center in this league. But I think the Pacers are a surprising team out there that have kind of been like, okay, this is kind of a team to watch, even though when Alex and I and Kevin on the pregame show, when we were all listing our top teams, we listed Indy as one of those playing teams. Kevin's like, damn, I forgot about Indianapolis. I definitely forgot about them. So I think they're one of those teams up there. They're tied for what? There's a bunch of teams tied for third right now because there's a bunch of teams that are 3-2. So we'll kind of see when, the dust settles where they'll be. But I'll say right now, they've kind of surprised me. Disappointing team. Gotta go with the Rockets, man. I've been talking about the Rockets, saying that they're supposed to be, one of the best teams better young teams in the league. You got Ime Udoka. He made a couple of signings in the offseason, and I thought Jalen Green would be better than he's supposed to be. He's averaging 19, so this is kind of like his first real year of him like getting the keys to the franchise, pretty much. But he's a number 2 overall pick. They haven't been playing well at all. Kings play them tomorrow night. Might want to sprinkle on a little bit of. I might got a couple of picks for you guys for tomorrow. Might have a little bit of picks at the end of the show. We'll see. But I think the coaching and just Ime Udoka being there and him, obviously taking the Celtics to the finals. There's a lot of expectations for this Rockets team. I would say they are young, but I feel like, with the coach that they have and the reason why they hired him, they think that, hey, we saw you do this over there with these 2 guys, and we want to see if you can help our young guys kind of, get into the swing of things and become, one of the better teams in the Western Conference, which is a lot tougher. But they're a team that kind of disappointed me. Another team that's kind of, I'd say, surprised me is the Mavericks. I don't know, the Mavericks are undefeated, but they're probably going to lose tonight. They're down, 15 last time I checked. 20 points now. But to the Nuggets right now. But just because I always thought that Dallas was never really a great defensive team. They're a very Luka reliant, and I think that's kind of what they've been. And Luka, as long as he's playing, getting his buckets because Luka's probably gonna average like 30 like this whole season, just by the way that he's been going. I think he's probably going to be the scoring champion, as I kind of alluded to Alex earlier. She thinks Shai's probably going to win it, which is another guy who definitely could win it. But I feel like if Luka doesn't play well, then this team is not going to play well. And that's kind of what the case is. Luka does have 21 right now. That's me saying this in the third quarter, them being down by 17 points. But yeah, the Mavs, I didn't expect them to come out and win 4 straight. I was not expecting that. I thought they would have dropped a game or 2 here, and they'd probably be like, well, what's wrong with the Mavs? That's kind of what I was expecting, for them to not be as good early. But I do have them making the playoffs, so those are my teams.
Well, the final thing that I wanted to ask Alex before she gets out of here, and we appreciate you for joining us, Alex. I really appreciate it. But we've talked a lot about the Warriors and how it relates to the Kings. But on their own, the Warriors are now 5-1. It was a controversial finish in Oklahoma City today, but the Warriors are now 5-1. And so the question that we have for you, Alex, is, are the Warriors back to being title contenders? Why or why not?
They're not. Yes, because they have Steph Curry. That is the answer, period, point blank. You're riding with Steph Curry until he retires, right? I kind of alluded this, I think, back to the preseason or the pregame show that we did a few weeks ago. When I watched the Last Dance documentary back in like when COVID really was like April 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how they were like, we're breaking up this team after 98. Like, this is it, right? And I was thinking to myself, that's a horrible decision. You're riding until Michael Jordan says he's done, right? The same thing the Lakers said with Kobe, like, we're riding with you until you're done, and then we'll rebuild, right? The same thing needs to happen with the Warriors. They just won 2 years ago. So, yeah. I mean, right? Like, I think, and their ride to the finals was a bit easy, I will say, right? Because they played a Ja Morant-less Grizzlies, Jamal Murray-less Nuggets, right? They swept the Mavs, I think. So, I get it, right? I don't want to understate their championship, but you have Steph Curry, you are a title contender. Here, point blank. You have Steph Kerr, right? You still have the same system in place. You still have Draymond Green, right? Who can organize that offense and organize that defense, right? Clay needs to be a little bit more consistent for me, but I'm never going to dog out Clay. Clay is Clay. He'll be there. He'll show up like he did in the game-winning shot.
You better. You want a payday.
Okay. But
well,
yes,
Alex,
I think they are.
I did want to ask you one final question in relation to this, kind of as a follow-up, because are the Warriors back to being title contenders? I think that's something that we could all agree on. But for you as a Celtics fan, do the Warriors scare you a little bit still? Because that would be the real answer to me. If the answer is yes, then you really think that they're title contenders. If it's kind of a no, then not so much.
I think they do because they have Steph Curry.
Yeah.
And now you have,
I can relate.
You have Chris. Yeah. Now you have Chris Paul,
retweet,
right? Who can organize that offense. And then all they need to do is just get Draymond to screen someone else to screen someone. And then Steph Curry has a half a second open. Chris Paul will give him that ball. He'll yank it up, and it'll be considered a good shot for him and a horrible shot for everyone else, and it'll go in. So there's nothing you can do about that. So if Steph Curry's on that team, as a Celtics fan, I am scared. As an NBA fan, I am scared if Steph Curry is on that court. So unless he's not hitting for like the whole game, 2 games, 3 games, and that's never going to happen. Yeah. So no.
Exactly. It would have to be Steph not making a shot all season for me to doubt him at all. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for joining us. I really appreciate it. I know you got to get out of here, so we want to give you the signal to dip out. But thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
See you next
Go
time.
Celtics.
Appreciate it. Get her out of here.
We'll see you next time. Thanks to Alex for joining us. We really appreciate it. I didn't mean to do that in a rude way or anything. I was just trying to help her out. But anyways, so now, Jaevon, I'm gonna pass it to you next as another Celtics fan. I mean, I could kind of ask you the same question. Do the Warriors still strike fear in your heart as a Celtics fan? Because they were the ones who beat you in the finals a couple years ago.
Well, it was a different team. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Different constructed team. We didn't have Drew Holiday, a guy who would definitely follow Steph Curry around the entirety of the series if we do somehow meet in the finals. I'll just go back to the original question: are the Warriors being title contenders? You got to say yes, because just the way how this team is, I don't even think they've been playing as well as they would like to. They're winning these really, really close games. Like, I don't think the game against you guys a couple of nights ago should have been relatively close because De'Aaron Fox didn't play. And tonight, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't play, but they somehow edge out a victory by 2 points. So it's just like this team is going to find ways, I don't know how, to win. Like, I'm still kind of shocked on how many points they've been scoring, like 140, 130, 120. And, there's not really another scorer besides Stephen Curry. I've already kind of mentioned this earlier in the podcast. So, I mean, the Warriors have just been, all of the Warrior fans, you even see like on D'Lo and Casey how they always go back and forth with all the Warriors fans and how they're the new money compared to like the Lakers and Celtics, and how they, they're not a team that's kind of been winning for years and years to come, or years and years on end, but how they've kind of just started winning, you could say, 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, when they won their first championship. What was that, 2015? I believe that was. So,
yes.
They kind of just been winning ever since. So, Kevin Durant had a little bit of help with that, but that's neither here nor there. But they ended up, when Klay Thompson and Draymond and all those guys kind of went out, and they ended up, being one of the number 2 overall pick and getting James Wiseman, they somehow reloaded their roster and ended up winning another title after that. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. This team is just, you can't count this team out. And I tried to intentionally count them out in our preseason show.
They heard you.
They obviously are fans of the podcast and heard what I was saying and saying, hey, we're going to show that guy in Sacramento, who was a Celtics fan, that we are one of the best teams in the league. And right now they're 5-1. Probably going to have a second best record in the league, technically, by numbers go, because, they have that loss still. But, I mean, man, this team is Steve Kerr. I feel like he's early watch for Coach of the Year. I'll say that for right now. Just by the way that this team is constructed, I don't think anyone, if they just super duper early, way too early Coach of the Year prediction, Steve Kerr for me. That's what I'll say.
Well, Kevin, are the Warriors back to being title contenders?
I'm going to have to say no. Just because, I mean, Toddy kind of covered it over the numbers, because it's really just Steph Curry and everybody else in this scenario. He's averaging 31 points, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds. We mentioned Klay Thompson in the contract year. You'd expect him to come and really show why he says he deserves all the money he wants. 17 points, 2 assists, and 3 rebounds is not going to cut it. Draymond Green's been in and out of the lineup, but I think the biggest thing that's going to make them a contender again is Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins cannot average 12 points and 2 rebounds. When they were in the 2021 season, the 2020 season, when they won a championship, in that playoff series, he averaged 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists.
That's good.
He was also an all-star starter that year, averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He played 73 games. We saw in those other games towards the end of the season, when Andrew Wiggins was not in the lineup, this team looked like a completely different team. Andrew Wiggins has showed us at the biggest stage he can be the second best player on a championship team. So if they want to get back to that contender window, it's going to have to start with that. And secondly, they're 4-0 on the road this year. Last year, 11-30. So they're starting off games early and they're winning.
God awful against on the road. You just bet against the Warriors last year. That was insane how bad they were on the road. So
they're 4-0 this year, man. So Draymond Green came out on the Stephen A. podcast saying, this year people are smiling coming in at work. They're happy to be here. And of course, he didn't say, it's all my fault. Last season the chemistry was all to shit. But for them to become a title contender again, man, Alex is gone. I don't know why she said that anyways. But for them to become title contenders again, Andrew Wiggins is going to have to show that he is the second best player on this team.
Yeah. So I wanted to respond to this question myself. And as you guys know, I pick and choose my spots. But the reason why I wanted to respond to this question is Kevin designed the rundown for today, and the thing that I wanted to respond, and Kevin just dropped off the screen for our audio-only listeners. He should be rejoining us very soon. And I hope that he does rejoin us, or at least he'll hear this later, because the thing about the rundown from today and this particular question, and I left it exactly how it was on the rundown, are the Warriors back to being title contenders? But to me, Kevin, thank you for rejoining us, because I wanted to address you directly on this one, and just the way that you phrased the question in the rundown today of, are the Warriors back to being title contenders? Because to me, like, when were they not anymore? Like, I understand that back in 2020, 2021, the Warriors, they only won like 12 games or whatever. They got the high picked, which turned into James Wiseman. And at that point, everyone was wondering, are the Warriors done as a dynasty? Is 2019 the last time they would make the finals? They obviously proved that that wasn't the case, and they made it in 2022. But to me, the Warriors making the playoffs and only making it to the second round last season, that doesn't diminish their chances at all, and that they have been title contenders ever since they won it again back in 2022. And so I just wanted to address the question directly, because the Warriors, to me, never stopped being title contenders, at least after they won it again against Toddy's Celtics. And so I just wanted to address that question directly.
Yeah, no, and the reason I say that, I mean, yes, you have to give the Warriors their credit. They have a championship pedigree, but the West is getting bigger and they're getting better every year. When have we ever? I know this is our second NBA season doing Stats Over Politics, but even in the past, there was never a Western Conference preview of us talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, talking about the Pelicans, the Nuggets, the Mavericks. The Western Conference is getting better and better and better, and the Golden State Warriors are only getting older and older and older. So that's kind of where my mindset was, because, they got Ja Morant with the Grizzlies, how they play when he's there. The Suns, the Kings are upcoming, the Timberwolves. Like, the West is only getting so much better. So the Warriors have kind of fallen out of that contender window, because for the preview show, we had pretenders and contenders, and they were kind of in that gray area. You don't want to call them pretenders because they have Steph Curry. You don't want to call them contenders because you're looking at teams with big threes and dynamic duos. And, the Warriors are kind of, we'll see what Clay gives us. We'll see what Draymond gives us. So they still have a lot of question marks for me in comparison to other teams in the West.
That's completely fair, and I understand the reasoning behind it. So now, speaking of teams in the West, or even in general with the NBA, the only winless team left in the NBA is the Memphis Grizzlies, who are currently without their all-star guard, Ja Morant, who is suspended. And so now, as the Grizzlies are at 0-5, I'm wondering, Jaevon, can the Grizzlies turn it around without Ja Morant?
No, I don't think so. I was very high on the Memphis Grizzlies not being good this year, just on simple math. Ja Morant is out 25 games. Steven Adams misses the entire year, I think, with a knee injury, and that's before the season even started. So I'm like, okay, you're already down your two best players. Derrick Rose ends up going out. I think not Tillman. What's the guy's name? Zaire something.
Zaire Williams.
Zaire Williams, yes. He is also out. Kevin, you're muted. But I definitely heard when I just saw that when Steven Adams ended up going out, I was like, oh, okay. So who's going to make up for everything that those guys do? Oh, you don't have anybody that's going to be able to make up for that. Okay, so you're going to start losing games. And I think it's going to be very similar to this going forward. Desmond Bane's been playing absolutely well. I predicted that he'd probably be doing well because you don't really have anybody else that can score. I get Marcus Smart is there, but Marcus Smart is not a guy from experiences that's going to be like, all right, I'm going to go out and give you 25 a night. That's not Marcus Smart. So can they turn it around? No, I don't believe that they will be able to turn around. I just think the season will be very, very tough to come back from, because how the West, I've kind of mentioned this in our preseason podcast. Go check that out. I've been mentioning it a lot throughout the show. If you go back and listen to what I said pretty much the same thing. Math, Ja Morant's out for 25 games, and then you have Steven Adams out for the rest of the year. So who is going to be the guy that's going to be able to fill those voids, those all-NBA, all-star caliber voids? You don't have anybody that's going to be able to do that. I get Desmond Bane as Desmond Bane, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold the glue of this team together for at least the next 25 games until, well, it's probably like 24 or however many games they played now, but they're going to be without for a while. And I think even when Ja comes back, they're going to be behind the 8 ball so much that it's going to be like, you got to play catch up the rest of the way. And I don't think it'll be enough for them to get into the playoffs. Maybe they'll be able to get into the play-in. Maybe. But I feel like by that 25-game stretch, they'll just be behind everybody. They'll be like probably
2 and something.
No, not 2 and something. I don't think
They're barely beating the Blazers, Toddy.
I know. They're not going to be 2 and something. I feel like they'll be.
They're 0 and something now.
They're going to
0
be
and 5.
10 and something by that time. They'll definitely have a losing record, and I think they'll probably be like 8 games behind that 8th spot. That's probably what I was saying. You'll probably be playing catch up the entire way. They're going to have to go on like a crazy win streak, which is very hard in the NBA because it's a night in, night out basis, and you can get beat on any given night. We've seen that before. So it's going to be tough for them to kind of come back and figure out a way to dig themselves out of this hole that they're already in. And that's without Ja Morant. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Kevin, how do you feel about the Grizzlies without Ja Morant?
I'm right there with Toddy. They were 2 years ago, they were 20-4 when Ja Morant didn't play. Last year, they were 11-10. And over those games, they had you could say it, all-star backup point guard. Arguably the best backup point guard in the league in Tyus Jones. And in those games without Ja Morant, averaged 19 and 10. So they had someone to fill in that spot. So the question is, when you ask if they could turn around without Ja Morant, is Marcus Smart better than Tyus Jones?
I'd say yes.
I think they both bring a lot of different things to the table. Offensively, I'm taking Tyus every day. Playmaking, I'm taking Tyus. The only reason I'm taking Marcus is defense. So when you have someone out of your lineup that's an all-star, all-NBA, 20 points a game scorer, you have to replace it. Marcus Smart can't replace it. D. Rose is on his last wheel. He's already having knee problems earlier this season. We talked about Steven Adams, Brandon Clark being gone. They are the Western Conference Heat. They're known for developing guys, getting guys late in the drafts. We've seen Xavier Tillman kind of hit a wall. Toddy mentioned Zion Williams. He was a lottery pick out of California or out of Stanford, and he just kind of hit a wall. This team is, for them to kind of succeed during this run, Jaren Jackson Jr. was going to have to show that last year All-Star bid was not a fluke. Jaren Jackson Jr., he was going to have – exactly. He was going to have to step up and show that last year wasn't a fluke. And this year, throughout 5 games, that's all he's shown, that last year was a fluke. Defensive Player of the Year, fluke. All this has been a fluke. They've had the health go their way. They have the jaw stuff go their way. So now they're kind of sitting here in this gray area, like Toddy has mentioned. We bring up the preseason show. We did contenders and pretenders, and I felt like they were pretenders. They're going to get Ja back and be so far behind the 8 ball. Is it worth it to kind of push for that play-in seat? Like we talked about with the Warriors, the West is getting better and better and better. Ja gets to practice with them, but those game reps for all the hoopers out there, game reps and practice reps are not the same. Ja's going to be fatigued out of his mind. So this team's going to have to figure it out. Desmond Bane has been doing his thing, but the departure, say what you want, Dylan Brooks in those games without Ja was putting up 19 a night. You can say you don't like them. You can say A, B, C, and D. They had the guys to replace that production. Yes, there's a shot chucker, but they had the guys to replace that production. With Jaren Jackson not playing well, it's really just Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, JJJ, and a bunch of guys, And if those 3 don't show up night in and night out, they're not going to compete. So I'm going to say they cannot turn it around without Ja Morant. I don't think they can turn it around with Ja Morant.
I will say this. When Ja comes back, he's going to be trying to kill anything and everything in his direction. He's going to try and duck on anybody.
No point intended.
I do the dangler, as we like to call him on this show. I feel like when he does come back, he's going to show people why he was all NBA, why he's an all-star. I think we'll see that when he comes back. But like me and Kevin are already saying, they're going to be behind so many other people. Like they're going to be behind so much because of the 25. It's fourth of the season. Like, what are we talking? It's almost the fourth of the season. So it's like, it's hard when you're 25 games out with your best player, who's arguably one of the best players in the league, and he's not there. It's tough. This like we said, this league is tough. So, and even in the West. Now, in the Eastern Conference, this could maybe be a different story. They might be able to turn around, somehow facilitate a way to finesse their way into a play-in spot, I believe.
They were down 30 to the Wizards.
Yeah.
We could come up – it would be a struggle for us to name teams that are worse than the Wizards.
Yeah.
30 points?
It's
ugly in Memphis.
They're missing some guys, so – Memphis get a number one. Are they gonna get Cooper Flagg?
That's 2 years, but I mean DJ Wagner. There's a lot of dudes they can come up, so we'll see.
I'm off a year. My bad.
Well, the one guy that I think both of you didn't mention was Steven Adams. He is going to be out all season for the Grizzlies, and as Smooth says, that is a huge hole for the Grizzlies, and so. The Grizzlies aren't just missing Ja, they are also missing Steven Adams, who is a pretty big piece as well. As we move on here on episode number 60 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. We're going to get to our final two topics here, gentlemen, and one of them is related to what we see tonight and what's going on right in front of me on ESPN, and that's the NBA in-season tournament. And so Jaevon, I wanted to ask you first and foremost about the in-season tournament, because the thing that's interesting to me so far about this in-season tournament is the motivation for some of these players, because right now it's monetary motivation. But former Kings point guard Tyrese Halliburton, he recently said something that I thought was pretty interesting about the NBA in-season tournament, as he said, I think the greatest incentive for everybody to do it would be an automatic playoff bid. If it was a playoff spot, I think everyone would take it very, very serious, right? I think the older teams would take it serious. And so, Jaevon, I know that the in-season tournament is just getting started, but right now, is it enough motivation for these separate teams? Because it is a regular season game as well. But do you think there's enough motivation in this in-season tournament, or is Tyrese kind of on to something of how it should move towards in the future?
You mentioned Tyrese Halliburton's quote. I'm going to go with a different quote. Bones Highland. He said,
I don't even know
what's going on. I have zero idea what's happening. I just think that we have the schedule. We're playing these guys. And I don't really know how the in-season tournament is kind of constructed or what it is, but the way how I saw the Pacers playing tonight, because I have League Pass, Kevin, I don't know if you have League. I would assume so. Would assume you have League Pass. The Pacers were playing like they were on fire. They were up by, I think, 20 points on the Cavs tonight, but then they ended up they let the Cavs end up coming back, taking the lead at one point in the fourth. But the Halliburton hit a step back three that end it. And so, from what his quotes is matching his play. So I'm kind of just. There's a little bit of motivation there, but I think the incentive for it's 500,000, if you win, or it's a group stage. It's kind of like how they do in soccer, I think, for the World Cup. Is that how it's kind of constructed? But I don't really know. Just it's so early. I thought the in-season tournament was going to start Christmas time and then kind of just lead on into the rest of the season. But no, they're yeah, we're going to start this thing right now. So I feel like Shaun could kind of break down what is kind of happening right now, because I thought they're just playing games right now, but I guess there's a whole group thing kind of going on, and the winner gets this and that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So basically how it's going is that each team has 4 group play games, and you play within your group of 5. So each conference has 3 groups, and it's groups of 5, as I mentioned. So, for example, the Kings are in a group with the Golden State Warriors, and so on and so forth. And so then you get, I believe, from the group play winners, then you eventually get to the Final 4. Those Final 4 are who play in Las Vegas in the semifinals, and then ultimately the in-season tournament finals. And then
when does it end?
I think it ends in December or January, something like that. It's like in the middle of the season. I think before the All-Star break.
Oh wow, okay. So it's kind of going to go on for a while then.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because it's kind of scattered. Like right now, the Nuggets are playing the Mavericks, as you've mentioned throughout the podcast, and it's in the West Group B play. And the reason why it'll last a while is they're not going to do them consecutively, like all four games for all four teams. Like they're kind of spreading them out. And I think that they're also part of the reason for spreading them out is to have these marquee primetime slots where we saw the Bucks and the Knicks were playing on ESPN right before this game in an in-season tournament game. And now we see the Nuggets and the Mavericks, and it's on ESPN on a Friday night.
So like tomorrow won't be
so the play-in games are from November 3rd to November 28th. And then the Vegas is December 7th and 9th.
Okay, so there you go. It's even sooner. Thank you, Kevin, for getting that. So it's even sooner than we were kind of guesstimating there. I was kind of guessing December, January, so it's early December, which kind of makes sense.
So I'm like, it's all the games from now until like the end of November, they're all in-season tournament games. Okay.
Oh,
and then
when there you go. So I was wrong.
What signifies it is the court. So if you see like we all saw the courts today. So if you see that court, that will kind of signifies that it's a play-in game, not a play-in game, NBA in-season tournament game.
All right.
Yeah, that is correct. And so, anyways, I just want to get
incentives, Kev? Do you know what the
so each player on the winning team will get $500,000. So
they
were
like
talking
you got to win the whole thing.
The whole thing,
not like when
you win the whole thing.
Okay.
I don't know who said it. We're talking about quotes. So they were like, your top guys, $500,000 is $20 to them. But the two-way guys, the guys at the end of the bench, that's a payday. That's untaxed $500,000. That's headed to me in my pocket cash.
Yeah.
So that's the motivation for the guys. You're doing it for the players at the end of your bench. And me and Shaun were kind of talking about it beforehand. I love the in-season tournament because it's what we hope for in the summer. When we're hoping for the finals, you want everyone to be healthy. So it's early. It's 5 games in. Teams are still gelling, but at least we get to see the Kawhis, the PGs, the Zions, the Brandon Ingrams, all the guys that are continuously always hurt. They get an opportunity early to play in a playoff-like atmosphere. But going back to what Tyrese Halliburton said, a play-in lock would be nuts because do they just not play the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Like, how would that work? I would love it because everyone's got to play balls off the wall. Like, the teams that are playing right now, the Grizzlies and the Memphis, and Grizzlies and Portland. If one of them were to win the play-in tournament and get into a playoff spot, the world would lose their shit. Like, what the fuck? There's no way we want to watch the Blazers in the playoffs. Sorry, babe, if you heard that. But there's just no way you want to see the Blazers and the fucking Grizzlies in the playoffs. So that would be amazing if it could happen. But I think this is great basketball because we get to see what we've always talked about. There's no what ifs in the beginning of the year because everyone's healthy. And I think this was the greatest year to do it because they put in the load management. They put in the games rule to where if you want to be all NBA, get the accolades, you have to play a certain amount of games. So that just gives more motivation for these extra games.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so now, do you guys have any predictions for who you think is not only going to play in the finals, but to win the whole inaugural in-season tournament? Kevin, I'm throwing it back to you. Do you have predictions for the tournament?
Yes. So for Group A, which is I got it pulled up. So Group A is the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Blazers. I'm going to go Lakers to win out of this one. We have Group B with the Nuggets, Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, and Rockets. I have the Clippers winning this one. Group C, there's the Kings, Warriors, Timberwolves, Thunder, and Spurs. I have the Kings winning this, and then my 2 wild cards out of here would be, of course, the Suns and the Nuggets. In the Eastern Conference, Group A, we have Sixers, Cavs, Hawks, Pistons, and Pelicans, or not Pelicans, the Pacers. I'm going to go 76ers here. In Group B, we have the Bucks, Knicks, Heat, Wizards, and Hornets. I'm going to go Bucks. And then Group C, it's the Celtics, Nets, Raptors, Magic, and Bulls. I'm going to go Celtics with my 2 wild cards out of the Eastern Conference being the Orlando Magic and the Knicks.
All right,
and then winning it all, Lakers.
Oh, sorry. Lakers. Oh, my God. Now I know why I cut you off because I didn't want to hear that. Toddy, what do you got for your predictions?
It was very thorough explanation that Kevin just got broken down by the group. gave you the Eastern.
Hey, he
win.
came ready. You can't be upset about it.
I feel like it's gonna be a team that
no one expects to win.
I feel like it's gonna be a team that nobody that's not trying to like win it all. It might be like a team. Like I get how Kevin's saying the Lakers are gonna win it, but I feel like it might be like
I think they're gonna play the Magic too. Lakers versus Magic.
Like a middle of the pack team, like a team that's kind of like young and up and coming that takes the regular season more serious than like
Sacramento.
I would love for Kings to win too.
The Kings win the first in-season tournament. Is Sac going to be, or the streets
that
going
to that would be such a Kings thing to do.
So my biggest thing, are there going to be banners? Are you going to hang a banner?
No, I wouldn't hang
the
it.
Kings would
because you think about it, the trophies go into the trophy case. So that means they're essentially
it's a championship.
To be a banner. It's a championship. So are we gonna do like a ring night? Like I don't know how this is all gonna play out in the middle of the season, but yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch.
I'm just gonna go up the limb and just say OKC is gonna win the in-season tournament.
I like that.
They're a young team. They're trying to kind of, I think they've been playing well as of late. I feel like when Shea plays, pretty much everything is kind of in place on where it needs to go. I'm just thinking young team, they get up pretty much every night, whether it's game 5 or game 82. They're going to be playing all their guys. Like Kevin was saying, the Lakers, I mean, they have the potential to win it, but how serious are these top teams going to be taking this in-season tournament? I don't know if they'll be taking this serious. Now, we could see a team like the Nuggets probably just be like, we're going to win everything. Like we're going to win the finals.
We're taking everything.
We're just trying to win everything and kind of set that tone. That's the other side of what this in-season tournament could be. Like you could see like these top teams be like, I don't really give a fuck about what this is going to be, which is what my prediction is they don't really care as much about the in-season tournament. Or you could say these top teams are using the in-season tournament as a little bit of what the playoffs could be like. Is the same atmosphere going to be that? I'm going to say no, because like the tournament that you said, like the actual tournaments in Vegas, so it's not really like home court advantage. You're in the playoffs, that atmosphere. I don't know if they'll be able to duplicate that same type of adrenaline playoff atmosphere in the in-season tournament. So that's why I'm saying, a team like the Magic could win it, or the OKC Thunder could win it, or one of these, younger teams, the Kings could win it. I'm not saying you guys aren't playoff contenders, because I think you guys will definitely be one of the top seeds in the West when it's all said and done. But I just feel like one of these younger teams is probably going to end up winning it. So I'm just going to go off the limb and I'm going to say OKC is going to win it. Book it.
Before we pass it on to Shaun, another thing that we haven't talked about is once it gets to Vegas, it's single elimination. So there is no series. So it's literally the best team that shows up that day.
NCAA style.
We can see a team like, we see a lot of Cinderella stories. So maybe we'll see some in the NBA.
I'm going to go with the team that I see losing by 12 points right now, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. They've already gotten off to a good start, and I think that they're going to want to try to just keep that momentum going.
That one game would probably play very well for them, like the one game.
Yeah, that is true. And what I was about to say is that Kevin and I were talking before we started this stream that something that the NBA in-season tournament has been replicated on is the WNBA Commissioner's Cup. How it's very similar, as it's basically the WNBA's in-season tournament. And a team like the New York Liberty, which is my favorite team in the WNBA, they won the Commissioner's Cup this season, and it was significant because it was trying to build towards ultimately winning a championship. They ran into the brick wall that is the Las Vegas Aces. It is what it is. But the point is that winning the in-season championship could be seen as a springboard to try and get momentum into the playoffs and trying to accomplish the ultimate goal of winning a championship. And so I'm going to just throw a random team out there, and I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks, but the Sacramento Kings are very likely as well. So we shall see. And I'm interested to see how this
season tournament, by the way.
Oh, of course. You got
it. We know you will be, and that's what we count on you for, Jaevon, as we start to wrap things up here on episode number 60 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. Thank you to Alex Dent for joining us tonight. And the final topic that we have, guys, is not NBA related. It is college basketball related. As Jaevon said, oh my God, for the audio only listeners, because Kevin took off his headset. He put on his Duke jersey. He's got the Dodgers hat on, so he's got the blue rocking together. Just kidding. Forget the Dodgers hat. But Kevin, you just threw on your Duke jersey, and that's because
can
Cooper
you identify
Flagg.
What number 1 that is for our listeners?
So I'm not gonna lie to you. This was before the days of NIL, so it has no last name. So a couple years ago it was Jabari. A couple years ago it was Kyrie. A couple years ago it was Zion. So number 1 this year is Caleb Foster. So this year is Caleb Foster. But we talked about it. You guys saw it on the preview. Cooper Flagg. Number 1 player in the country. He reclassified from his junior class to senior class, and he's still the number 1 player in the country. So everyone said when Coach K left, Duke was going to fall off. I don't think so. We'll keep bringing in the number 1 guys. So let me tell you a couple other number 1 players in the country that committed to Duke. We have Cooper Flagg, Jahlil Okafor,
what the fuck,
Zion Williamson.
He's pretty good.
Jabari Parker.
Bust.
I know it was a bust. Harry Giles, he was still number 1.
Another unfortunate bust. But hey, I'm happy. I just got to say real quickly, I'm really happy for Harry that he got a roster spot with the Brooklyn Nets and he's back.
He deserves it.
That's so awesome.
But we have guys like Derek Lively, who's the number 1 guy in the country. So Duke basketball is forever going to be the brotherhood. This is where you want to go. If you want to play in the NBA, you want to be a number 1 draft pick, you go to Duke. So Duke, hey, man. Put the jersey on. You can't see it, but Duke. We're going to be rolling into that soon. And, I don't know how the Tar Heels made it to 16, but I guess it's because they are blue blood. And so I guess just reputation got them into the poll. But, hey, man, Duke's number 2, and I'm feeling really good about them. So I'm excited to see not only this year's team, but, of course, next year when Coop comes to town.
Jaevon Toddy, the well-documented Carolina Tar Heels fan. What do you think about the best player in the nation committing to Duke?
I thought I ended up thinking that he was going to go and commit to UConn because that's kind of like where he's from. But then when I saw that he's on a Cameron Indoor visit, I was like, damn it, it's over. He's going to Duke. So, I mean, like Kev said, the recruiting really hasn't dropped ever since kind of Coach K retired. But I feel like he has his ties and whispers to him still being around the program. So I feel like that might have something to do with it. But the thing that kind of scared me that Cooper only 16. So like when he ends up going to Duke, I think he'll be 17. So I mean, just all the film is there for what he has the potential to be. Probably a number 1 pick. We'll see. But one thing that Kevin did say about, if you want to go to Duke, if you want to be the number 1 overall pick, you go to Duke. I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say Kentucky is the place that you would want to go. They put guys in the NBA. They get guys that are max contract guys. I feel like there's a lot of top guys in the league that are from Kentucky, not from Duke. But I mean, Duke does send. They're obviously one of the top schools that sends guys to college. But if I'm like thinking about who has the better number guys, top players in the league, max contracts, is guys that went to Kentucky. So as far as Cooper Flagg goes, I mean, they're going to be a team that can definitely win it all. As far as, them going to the tournament, they're going to be a team that we'll be watching a lot because they'll be on TV a lot because ESPN is going to want to show off Cooper Flagg. So excited for college basketball to start this coming Monday. I'm going to be locked in.
Before we move on to you, Shaun, Toddy came in here and tried to rain on my Duke parade, and I'm the stats guy. That's what people come on here to see is Kevin's going to bring the stats. So Toddy said, if you want to go to Kentucky and be number 1, you go to Kentucky. Duke has the most number 1 draft picks out of them all. Duke has 5. Kentucky has 3. Toddy's school, Carolina has 2, and UCLA has 2. So, correction, Toddy. If you want to go number 1, there's only one place to go, baby.
Name those
Duke.
number 1 overall picks.
Kyrie Irving, Jabari Parker, Zion Williamson.
Jabari went 2.
Well, Jabari went 2. Yeah, I can actually look it up. I was going off the dome. Zion, I said Zion already.
Zion, Kyrie are like the guys, like the top like dudes, if you think about it. I'm not even going off of I'm not even going
Elton
off
Brand,
picks. I'm not even going off
Paulo
number one picks.
Banchero, and then a guy in 1963 by Art Heyman.
Some dude, yeah.
Oh, I loved Art Heyman.
Oh, there you go. See?
Yeah.
Duke,
I'm not even
baby.
going off number one picks. I'm just going off of just picks in general, like just dudes that Kentucky's produced.
That's
Like,
not fair, man. Duke
No,
guys
no,
get
no.
a bad shake in the league.
Exactly. So I'm like, hey, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, Julius Randle, Anthony Davis, Tyler
Anthony
Hero.
Davis. Anthony Davis is the
Tyler
first number
Hero.
one overall pick. Anthony
Look,
Davis is
I'm
also
not
the
going-
only
I'm-
number one overall pick that you just mentioned.
And I'm not even going off of just number one picks. I'm just going off of just dudes in the league. Carl Anthony Towns. Like if you kind of
Guys that actually aren't a bust. Like Kevin mentioned, a lot of high top 3 picks, but there were a lot of busts. There was
Like
Jahlil
Kentucky
Okafor,
has
Jabari Parker.
dudes.
Sorry, Kevin.
There's also Grant Hill, Kyrie Irving, Brandon Ingram, Paulo Banchero.
Pretty good.
I feel like Kentucky has a lot more dudes. I'm just gonna go back. I think it was the Tyrese Maxey's another guy. Like I'm just going off of the team that had the platoon swap team where they were subbing 5 in and 5 out guys. And a lot of those guys from that team were drafted into the NBA, and they're one of those NBA. Like I'm just Coach Cal will send you to the league and get you paid. Duke might get you, okay, you'll go first round, you'll go number 1, but you might have one contract. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, one contract is disrespectful.
One or two.
I'm looking at a list of Duke guys that got multiple contracts. So one contract comment is kind of crazy.
Jabari Parker.
Well,
And if they were healthy, Grant Hill could have been one of the GOATs.
Jabari Parker, Duke has Jabari Parker, but on the other side, Kentucky has Nerlens Noel. Like I get, there's that take and then there's that pull. Jahlil Okafor is another guy who I thought was
Kentucky has Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein is another guy. So I feel like there's
The Harrison brothers, one of the guys that you mentioned on that platoon.
I don't even think the Harrison brothers were drafted high. I think they were like
No, not at all.
They weren't. So
They didn't go to Duke.
Yeah, I just think since we're on the topic of college basketball, I like to gamble. you know I like to gamble. I want to give you guys. I'm going to steal my thunder here and kind of just give you guys some picks. Okay, some picks that I'm kind of looking at. There's only one game. I like one game, but I love the night game, and that is 8:00 Pacific Standard Time. He's gonna be on prime time, baby. Come on, man. It's Bronny James and the USC Trojans. They're going up against Kansas State.
Is he playing? Has there been any news on that?
I would think that he is playing. But, okay, I get Bronny James is a big name on that list. But a lot of people aren't paying attention to the other guy that was the number 1 point guard coming out of high school. That's Mr. Isaiah Collier. Right now USC is -2.5. I love them at -2, and I love it because a lot of people aren't up on it because it's college basketball, it's high school. I don't know what's gonna happen. Kansas State is probably not favored as much just because based off of the year that they had last year. I'm kind of blanking on the guy's name, the point guard that went crazy in the tournament, that averaged a bunch of points and assists.
Booby? No.
I'm blanking on his name, but he signed. He was on the summer league team in Toronto this past year. But
the little dude from Kansas State.
yeah,
The tiny dude, Marquez Norel? Something
Marquise
like that?
Noel.
Marquise Noel. There we go. So I feel like they're kind of like, oh, this is that same team. But 2 of those guys, what's the Keontae something? I think he ended up going to
Keontae George. He's on the
No.
Thunder.
No.
Keontae George, the dude from Florida.
Keontae Johnson. Keontae
I'm
Johnson.
gonna say, isn't it Johnson? Yeah.
I think it's Keontae Johnson. Please do a fact check on that for me. I don't want to butcher his name. But I think Brownie's playing. I'm not sure he's not playing, but they still have Isaiah Collier. He was the number 1 point guard.
Johnson.
So it's Keontae Johnson. He was the number 1 point guard coming out of high school. I think he's going to be a guy that's probably going to take on a lot of the scoring load for this team in general. It's definitely be a plus that Brownie is playing, and that's would be a large portion of the reason why they are on TNT at 8:00 at night. But watch out for USC -2.5. Right now, I'm seeing 3.5, but I still would take that. I think they're going to.
What are the odds on LSU's women's double daddy in here? That's what we need to talk about, Shaun.
I don't see any W. All I see is like future odds for LSU, and they're plus 300 right now. So I would take that to the bank and run with it.
Sprint, run, force, run.
Haley Van Lith in like the little preseason action, she has been dominating. So it's just been something that you kind of are just like, okay, LSU early, and what Haley's coming back, and just I don't know. Shaun might be able to attest a little bit to this, but there is a girl in Iowa who might have something to say about it. Miss Caitlin.
She's pretty good.
She is also pretty good. I think she's eligible for the draft after this year, Shaun, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, so just to pipe in real quickly, that's the team that I was going to mention. There is that one gal out there in Iowa. She's filling football stadiums for a preseason game. That's how damn good she is. And Jaevon, just to answer your question,
they're plus 700 to win the NCAA title.
Yeah, and so the thing is about that is that Caitlin said that even though she could return for a senior year, she's treating this junior year as if this is it for her.
That means
so she's gone. She's likely going to be gone. But I mean, the thing is, though, that's pretty interesting. Is ever since NIL, thank you, Jaevon, because you just read my mind. NIL, Kevin, some of these athletes, especially female athletes, some of them can make more money in college than they could in the WNBA.
Yes.
A guy like Caleb Williams could stay in college and still make millions of dollars if he doesn't want to go to a certain team that might get the number 1 overall pick. But Caleb Williams would still make more money on his rookie contract in the NFL than he would on NIL endorsements. That's not the case for female college athletes, as there are many female college athletes that could make much more staying in school. And so I wouldn't guarantee that Caitlin's done, but I would say that she's given everything to this season, and that could be the only team, in my opinion, that could knock off LSU, even though those Buckeyes are still around too. Don't forget about Ohio State and obviously always Stanford, led by Cameron Brink.
I think it's tough to pick against LSU just based on the team that they're bringing back. And they added Haley Van Lith to this team, so it's gonna be tough. I get Caitlin's probably gonna average 25, 27, 30 points whenever the tournament comes around. But it's gonna be like how much. Now she put the team on her back last year, got them all the way to the title game. So it's gonna just be like how much can she carry? I would have liked to see Iowa try to get some girls in the transfer portal. Maybe if they would have been able to pair a Haley Van Lith with a Caitlin, that would have been a nice little backcourt to look at.
Man.
The LSU Tigers, the rich get richer, and they added her to the roster, and it's going to be tough for them. So as far as, just look at the records that they set for college women's sports. Caitlin set for college women's sports last year, and all the money that's going to be coming in from viewership, and how last year they were like the highest viewed WNBA. It might have been women's basketball game. I could be wrong. Could be women's basketball game, like highest viewed ever. But I know it was definitely the highest college women's basketball game ever. It was pretty insane. Yes, as Shaun shows the picture for our audio only listeners, she's filling out football arenas for
a preseason game.
It's a preseason college basketball game. So you can see how excited they are for this Iowa team. I feel like Iowa will probably win their division, their conference. If you look at conference tournaments, they'll probably win that. But as far as getting to the big dance, they still might be able to get there. Not sure if they're going to have enough to win. But going back to just college in general, because college men's basketball just start for all my degenerates out there gambling on college basketball like me. I would take USC minus. I see them at 3.5 right now. I've seen some 2.5s. So we'll kind of just we'll kind of just mix that in and say USC -3. For hoops tomorrow, I'm just going to do all basketball because I gave some football earlier in the week. If you guys end up watching the podcast, check out our Monday episode. Have a little bit of basketball, a little bit of football. Everything's kind of sprinkled in. A little bit of hoops tomorrow. I do see the Sacramento Kings -3 against the Rockets. Now I get De'Aaron Fox, but I did see Shams came out and said, I think it was either yesterday or this morning, that De'Aaron might play tomorrow. And based off of the sprain, I'm going to bet on Shams and say De'Aaron Fox is going to end up playing tomorrow. And the Rocket and the Kings are -3 right now. Now, if the news comes out that De'Aaron Fox is going to play, that line is going to go up to like 7 probably. So I would try and go ahead, Shaun. You had something?
I was just gonna say that De'Aaron Fox just got his high school jersey retired tonight back in Houston.
In Houston?
So
Oh, he's playing.
Exactly.
He's playing tomorrow night. Yeah, that's
it is a back-to-back though, so he could sit out the first half of it and then play the second. But it seems like he's going to be returning from that injury fairly quickly.
Yeah. So, and you saw him wanting to get out there in that Golden State Warriors game. So you could get the Kings at a steal price, which is -3. The news comes out that De'Aaron is going to play. I kind of would bet on that. Kings are probably going to play him. There's a couple of games on here that I'm kind of interested in. Pelicans at home against the Hawks. The Hawks are a very up and down team. They suck on the road, like they're bad, piss poor franchise on the road.
Shout out to Julian.
I'm not sure if Zion is playing. He sat out last game. I think he's going to play. I did see that Ingram is questionable, which kind of leans for me that he's going to end up playing. So I would probably take the Pelicans -3 in this spot, just based off of the reports from Underdog, Shams, that the Pelicans are going to end up playing Brandon Ingram. And I feel like if Zion doesn't play and Brandon Ingram does play, I feel like that's still enough to beat this Atlanta team, who's very bad on the road. Pelicans have been playing pretty solid. CJ's been kind of going insane. If you kind of been looking at his numbers lately, I've seen a couple 30 balls here and there. So I'm going to rock with the Pelicans -3 here. I'll do one more game because I'll have 3 games so far. The first game was the USC -3, had Kings -3, and also have Pelicans -3. Another game I'm interested in, yeah, they're still playing right now. Nuggets -10. Now, 10 points is a big number, but they're playing the Chicago Bulls, the most inconsistent basketball team in probably the NBA right now. I'm probably gonna end up buying a point at 9, just because it might get weird. Nuggets on a back-to-back. I just think the Bulls, man, they're just so weird. Now, Bulls might cover the spread, but this is a game you could definitely be a potential blowout. So I'm going to go with the Nuggets -9 by a point here. Just the way that Jokic has been playing. It's at home too. So I feel like if this was on the road, I would probably end up taking the Bulls in the points, but I think the Nuggets are a really, really good team. One of the, if not the best team in the league. I picked them to go to the finals preseason podcast. Go check that out. But I'll definitely take the Nuggets in the points here at -9. So recap, we have USC. This is Monday night games, so you're gonna have to wait a little bit. Parlay at your own risk. Don't try and, if you want to get everything all going here, straight bet everything. So we do have USC -3. I have the Kings -3. Line will probably potentially go up if the De'Aaron Fox news comes out. And then I also have Pelicans -3. Line potentially might go up if Zion Williamson ends up playing, even if Brandon Ingram is playing, which I do think is going to happen. And then we have the Nuggets -9. So a little bit of college. We'll probably see a little bit more Vonny's hotlines because we got basketball going on. You got football going on. There's a lot of shit going on right now. College basketball happening. So there's a lot of everything kind of getting out there. I'm very excited. So you might see a little bit more hotline. I mean, who doesn't want more money, right? I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know that. More money, more
Free
games.
money.
Yeah, so I didn't know that was a bad thing. So, very excited. Those are the little hotline picks that we got kind of going on. I wanted to get that up because I knew that college basketball was starting. So, very excited about that. So, we'll see a little bit more. Most of the college basketball games are very like shit games. It's like a whole bunch of nobodies versus like top tier teams. They're gonna blow them out by like 30 points. And I'm not too comfortable with taking those big spread games unless it's like football for me. Like football, it's like if Georgia plays like freaking buttfuck University and they blow them out by 60 points, then that's pretty much what's gonna happen. But college is a little weird because even in like you see like the guys like St. Peter's, they got into the tournament and they went on a little magical run. I did bet on them, by the way. This is before Shaun. This is before Stats Over Politics. St. Peter's was a team kind of going against a Purdue. Purdue was a heavy favorite. I can tell you what the odds were just because I remember it like it was yesterday. St. Peter's was like a plus 325 favorite against the Purdue. Purdue was a number 1 seed going in. And I was like, man, there's something about these Peacocks, man. I don't know what it is. There's just something about them. They went on a crazy magical one, which brought a lot of people a lot of money.
Sweet 16, yeah?
Yeah, and I took them against my Tar Heels because I was
Smart man.
I was a believer in the hype, but then I was like, damn, are they gonna beat the Tar Heels, man? Like, and I just said, you know what? They've been so good to me that I had to roll with them, and the Tar Heels tore them apart. I think that's the year did we beat y'all, Kev? Yeah, we beat Paulo.
That was the year Coach K left when we played you on the Final Four. Yeah,
that was the Coach K farewell tour.
Grizzlies just lost to the Pelicans or the Blazers.
They did. Wow, that game they were losing. That's crazy. They were losing. The game went to overtime. That's nuts. Yeah, 0-6.
0-6. Shout out to SportsCenter for that amazing graphic.
It's
Jaren Jackson Jr. looks very happy.
It's gonna be tough for them. I mean, I've said it. Kev said it. It's simple math. You're 0-6 right now, and your best player doesn't come back for a whole another 20-something games. Or what is it? It's 19. My math. 19 games that you got without your starter, your best player, max player. It's gonna be tough.
Well, a great stat from this game isn't just the fact that, according to ESPN's BPI, which is their prediction model, the Grizzlies had a 93.5% chance to win that game in the fourth quarter against the Trailblazers. And according to ESPN Stats and Info, the Grizzlies are the first team to start 0-6 since the 2018-19 Cavaliers. It's the fourth time in Grizzlies history that they've started 0-6, along with 96-97, 01-02, and 02-03. And so they're down bad in Memphis right now. And so it'll be interesting to see how they try to climb out of the hole that they have kind of created for themselves early in this season. So that's going to do it for episode number 60 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It really helps us a lot. And if you enjoy the show, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live and click all notifications so you can join us for Friday night episodes as well at 7:30 p.m. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you've been tuned into episode number 60 of Stats Over Politics, for Jaevon, Toddy, Kevin Dent, Garry Singh, and our special guest, Alex Dent, I'm Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you all on Monday for another episode of Stats Over Politics.
I'll be $100 richer, everybody. Come show up on Monday.
Oh,
what's oh yeah, Bob never texted me back. He's never texted
bro.
me
You don't
back.
want no smoke.
We'll have to see you all on Monday after the Eagles potentially beat the Cowboys.